Chapter 162 Please Sword Venerable Fudao Take Action. Guan could only sigh along with Xie when he heard his words. Escape to the ocean? What a joke. Guan didn't know what was on Xie's mind, but he felt that after the extermination of the 8 dynasties' human race, the next to suffer would be the demons. The previous legends had already proven this. When the land was covered by demons, powerful cultivators would come, using humans to feed demons, using demons to feed humans? By making some adjustments, it wouldn't be fratricide, and the Holy Land would still be revered by both races. Guan chatted with Xie half-heartedly, his eyes never leaving the heavenly repair platform. He was also weighing whether to make a move. After all, he was still quite some time away from the critical point of 1,000,000 years of lifespan. If he broke through now, he would certainly break through to a higher realm, but he wanted to unlock the next lifespan function even more. He feared that his intervention might accelerate the process of the Great Demon Calamity. The Great Jiang Dynasty, here in the northernmost part of the 8 dynasties, was a land of towering mountains and precipitous ridges, full of world-renowned wonders. Backed by the Demon Land, the survival environment for the cultivators of the Great Jiang Dynasty was more difficult, which was why it had produced the strongest dynasty. In the Northern Territory, where mountains overlapped, and heavy snow covered the sky, the majestic snow mist made the mountains appear as the ridges of a true dragon, grand and spectacular, and almost like a wall created by heaven, separating the world into 2 halves. On one of the mountains, Lu Lingjun sat cross-legged on a giant boulder. The spiritual power emanating from her kept the surrounding snow mist at bay, forming wisps of white smoke rising into the air. She slowly opened her eyes, gazing towards the horizon. In the front, the mountains still undulated, and there was a faint firelight at the end of the world, which the flying snow could not completely obscure. Strong winds occasionally blew towards Lu Lingjun. The terrifying demon energy of the 6-headed sea dragon enveloped the entire world, making even Lu Lingjun and the White Spirit Demon Emperor on her shoulder uneasy. What is he waiting for? The White Spirit Demon Emperor asked in a low voice. Lu Lingjun remained calm and replied, "It might have something to do with the mountain god. After all, a Mahayana cultivator died at the hands of the mountain god. Will the mountain god take action? There are many more demons in the north. This calamity is far beyond what the ephemera sect can compare to. No matter how you look at it, the human race is doomed," the White Spirit Demon Emperor muttered. As a demon itself, it naturally would not side with the human race. It hoped Lu Lingjun would leave this troubled place. Lu Lingjun remained silent, looking into the distance, her thoughts unknown. The White Spirit Demon Emperor couldn't help but urge, "Lingjun, why not head south? Perhaps the ocean isn't as dangerous." Lu Lingjun wistfully said, "Do you remember when the Supreme Sex cultivators protected me during my breakthrough?" Upon hearing this, the White Spirit Demon Emperor opened its mouth, but finally said nothing. It understood Lu Lingjun too well. If Lu Lingjun wasn't so sentimental, would it have followed her? The White Spirit Demon Emperor's snake head lowered, and it said sullenly, "Then let's see how powerful the mountain god is. By the way, the Supreme Sect still has a sword Venerable Fudao. He should take action." Screech. A piercing dragon roar echoed through the sky. Snow mixed with a fishy wind rushed forward, and the mountains beneath Lu Lingjun trembled. 10,000 miles away, war was raging. The land was charred, lava flowed among the scorched earth, firelight floated between heaven and earth, and mountains were flattened, leaving behind giant holes in the remaining peaks. Numerous cultivators hovered in the sky, with various grand formations spanning the heavens. The land was divided into 2 by an abyssal rift, with human race cultivators casting spells on one side and demons and ghosts crammed along the cliff edge on the other. Their faces twisted in ferocity, their roars and howls turning the land into a hellscape. A terrifying giant demon stood behind the endless hordes of demons, his towering body cloaked in black armor, with sharp fangs on his shoulder guards resembling mountain peaks, and heads hanging from his belt, all of them great demons' heads. His body was humanoid, soaring 1,000 feet high, with his neck reaching into the clouds, and 6 sea dragon heads looming amidst the cloud cover, with pairs of blood-red eyes seemingly peering from the abyss, instilling terror amongst those who saw them. He was the six-headed sea dragon, a peerless great demon, fearsome across the demon land. On his shoulder was a small figure shrouded in pitch-black demon energy, revealing only a goat head with eyes red like blood beads. Great King, it appears the human race has no Mahayana cultivators, and that so-called mountain god doesn't dare cause trouble, the goat-headed demon said, its voice reaching the six-headed sea dragon's ears. Upon hearing this, a terrifying pressure erupted, sending the demons in front fleeing in panic, making way for the six-headed sea dragon. In the face of the mountain-sized six-headed sea dragon, most demons were as insignificant as ants. As the six-headed sea dragon stepped forward, ghostly energy surged, forming countless seductive female ghosts, whose laughter gathering together caused disorientation among the distant human race cultivators. The six-headed sea dragon is coming. A burly man in a gray robe roared in anger, his voice thunderous. The Tsongtian sect master, Liang Songhai, flew to the front of the formation, raising his long sword high and shouting angrily, "Disciples of the Tsongtian sect, follow orders, take your elixirs and fight to the death." As his voice fell, 1,000,000 Tsongtian sect disciples without hesitation took out their elixirs, which were dark brown. After consuming them, their spiritual power surged, blood energy emanated from their bodies. Their faces turned blue with bulging veins, and their eyes were bloodshot. The leaders of other sects also gave similar orders, all prepared to fight to the death. The Supreme Sect was no exception. Ancestor Xian Quan flew over the battlefield to the edge of the cliff, holding a horsetail whisk in one hand. He drew talismans with the other hand, each one forming a symbol made of spiritual power, which lined up in front. More and more mystic heart realm great cultivators flew to the skies above the cliff that divided the battlefield, facing the approaching six-headed sea dragon together. Mad swordsman Han Ming was also in the Great Yu Dynasty's formation, ready to fight to the death. Lu Lingjun arrived, stepping on a 100 Zhonglong white python, holding a sword in both hands, her presence dominant, with no fear in her eyes. It seems the human race has no Mahayana cultivators. If that's the case, they should become livestock for the demon clan. The icy voice of the six-headed sea dragon echoed throughout heaven and earth. Following this, the six terrifying dragon heads roared simultaneously, shaking the world. The dragon roar converged and spread far, reaching the land of the 8 dynasties. The great battle reignited. This time, the six-headed sea dragon's advance signified the official start of the demon calamity. The Supreme Sect, Outer Gate City. When the dragon roar came from afar, the flying snow seemed to pause, and the hundreds of thousands of disciples on the heavenly repair platform simultaneously opened their eyes. Guzong, sitting in the center, had a drastic change in his expression, his eyes full of worry. Disciples in the streets, manors, and courtyards were all disturbed. Even without seeing the situation in the Northern Territory, just hearing the sound made them tremble with fear. What kind of demonic monstrosity could produce such a terrifying roar? Even the Medicine Valley outside the outer gate was alarmed. Mystic Valley Mountaintop. Guan and Chu Jingfeng stood side by side, gazing northward, their robes billowing in the wind and snow. Chu Jingfeng frowned upon hearing the dragon roar of the six-headed sea dragon and asked, "Valley Master, do you think the Supreme Sect can survive this calamity this time?" Guan, observing the battle with his divine sense, said, "Of course, trust the Supreme Sect, trust our immortal cultivation world." When the six-headed sea dragon crossed that ravine, waves of mystic heart realm auras from the 8 dynasties began rushing towards the Northern Territory. Not just from the 8 dynasties, even from the Southern Ocean, powerful auras emerged. At this moment, Guan felt the deep foundation of the 8 dynasties' human race, the accumulation of nearly 10,000 years. Some would seek fortune in the ocean, but many others, even in foreign lands, yearned for their homeland. Guan's left hand touched the double heart ring on his right hand. Even without this ring, he could sense Lu Lingjun's peril. Despite the remote assault, Lu Lingjun was severely wounded. The six-headed sea dragon was overwhelmingly strong, its attacks heaven-shattering, forcing the entire human race to retreat continuously. "It's a shame I'm a cripple now, otherwise I would join the fight, even if it meant dying on the battlefield," sighed Chu Jingfeng. Guan patted Chu Jingfeng's shoulder saying, "How can you be a cripple? As long as one lives, there is hope. You can turn your current frustration into motivation. Maybe one day, the Supreme Sect will need you to save it. At that time, you will be its hero. I hope to see that day in my lifetime. Chu Jingfeng couldn't help but turn to him and asked, "Do you really think I can do that?" Guan smiled. "Of course. Brother Chu, in my eyes, you are a chosen one. What I can't achieve, you certainly can." A chosen one? Chu Jingfeng, in a daze, looked at Gu An's smile, feeling a surge of strength within him. For years, Guan had been encouraging him. If there was even a hint of insincerity, it wouldn't have lasted until today. This meant that Guan genuinely had high hopes for him. "Call for Sword Venerable Fu Dao to take action." A voice from afar shouted with all its might, followed by a gust of wind and snow rushing towards both of them. Before Chu Jingfeng could speak, another shout rang out from the distance, the voice of tens of thousands of cultivators, in unison resonating, which even the sound of wind and snow couldn't drown out. "Call for Sword Venerable Fu Dao to take action. Call for Sword Venerable Fu Dao to take action." The voices grew louder as more people joined in. Chu Jingfeng sighed. "I may not know if I can become a hero in the future, but now Sword Venerable Fu Dao is the hero of the Supreme Sect." In the distance, within the outer gate city, on the heavenly repair platform, hundreds of thousands of disciples sat, shouting with all their might. Even the disciples on the streets joined in, pleading for Sword Venerable Fu Dao to take action. Suddenly, Gu Zong, who was shouting, seemed to sense something. He looked down and saw his treasure sword trembling, as if wanting to be unsheathed. He took off his sword, and so did other disciples. Some even retrieved their swords from their storage bags. On the streets, disciples paused, looking in amazement at the swords at their waists or in their hands. All the swords were trembling, and they felt a mighty sword intent enveloping them. Could it be? The Supreme Sect cultivators' hearts filled with a daring speculation. Chapter 163. Execution of the Great Demon King, the Terrifying Sword Venerable. All the swords and flying swords in the city were trembling, exciting the cultivators immensely. They even raised their swords, holding them aloft. "It's the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fu Dao. Sword Venerable Fu Dao heard our call. This sword intent is indeed from Sword Venerable Fu Dao. With such vast sword intent, it should be able to contend with the six-headed sea dragon, right? Where is Sword Venerable Fu Dao? Could he be in the city?" The city was in an uproar. Everyone was very excited. Clang! The sound of swords being drawn suddenly overshadowed the clamor of voices. Countless swords rose into the sky, their tips pointing upwards, all hovering at the same height. There were over 1,000,000 swords, and their light was so dazzling that it even outshone the falling snow. On the heavenly repair platform, Gu Zong stood up, and so did the other disciples, all gazing up at the swords in the sky. Di Xie stood on the eaves, looking up at the scene, with an expression of incredulity on the face of this mystic heart realm great demon. Such sword intent, Di Xie murmured to himself. Having come to the Supreme Sect for so many years, he had deeply felt the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fu Dao. He thought he had overestimated Sword Venerable Fu Dao, but now he realized the depth of his immeasurable power. Even though he had the third layer of the mystic heart realm cultivation, facing this sword intent made Di Xie feel insurmountable. Under the gaze of the entire city, over 1,000,000 swords flew towards the north, sword chi bursting forth, dispersing the falling snow between heaven and earth, unstoppable, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. The vast sky was cleaved in two, revealing a clear blue sky, a magnificent sight. Gu Zong's hair was blown askew by the strong wind as he looked towards the direction of the departing 1,000,000 swords, a smile appearing on his face, no longer with a frown as before. "Six-headed sea dragon, can you withstand the strongest sword of the Supreme Sect?" Great Jiang Dynasty, Northern Territory. Endless cultivators flew towards the north like a rain of arrows, a magnificent sight that scattered the falling snow in the sky. Looking in the direction they were flying, thousands of miles away, on the demon battlefield, the six-headed sea dragon had already leaped over the bottomless canyon. Countless demonic creatures leaped over the canyon, following him to massacre the territory of the human race. The six-headed sea dragon grasped a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand. No matter how the cultivator struggled, he couldn't break free from his grasp. Thousands of feet away, numerous great cultivators of the mystic heart realm kept casting spells, but unfortunately, their spells and divine skills did not cause any harm to the six-headed sea dragon, not even breaking through his armor. Rocks fell like a meteor shower, striking the demonic army, yet the six-headed sea dragon had no intention of protecting his subordinates. As he advanced, he threw the great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand into his mouth, chewing as his six heads twisted around, scanning in all directions. Occasionally he would grab almost dead demons from the distance, swallow them in one bite, and blood rained down. Each of his mouths was stained with blood, a horrific sight. His posture was lazy yet dominating. The cultivators of the mystic heart realm felt utterly hopeless. They had never felt so helpless even when facing Butcher Immortal Jing from the Ephemera sect, because Butcher Immortal Jing had died too quickly then, whereas now they truly felt the might of a Mahayana realm being. Lu Lingjun stood on the back of the white spirit demon emperor, her hair disheveled, her right shoulder bleeding profusely, blood bubbling constantly. She looked at the six-headed sea dragon from afar with eyes full of unwillingness. "We can't move him at all. If this continues, we could end up in his mouth any time," the white spirit demon emperor said despondently, without any of the bearing of a unification realm being. It now only wanted to flee from this place. Lu Lingjun took a deep breath, knowing that continuing the battle was hopeless and would only lead to pointless sacrifices. She harbored thoughts of retreating, and not just from the battlefield, but from this continent altogether. Just then, she seemed to sense something and suddenly turned her head, eyes wide with disbelief. Behind, the world was vast and covered in white. Snow obscured everything, and the snow mist blew towards her with the wind. Not only her, more and more cultivators felt something, all turning their heads to look. Liang Songhai, the master of the Tsungtian sect, blood-covered and disheveled, held a great cauldron in his right hand, emitting tens of thousands of green lights, sweeping across the battlefield. Blood flowers burst wherever the lights swept, but his attacks on the six-headed sea dragon had no effect. He suddenly turned sideways, eyes widened in shock, looking back. The six-headed sea dragon, advancing and feeding simultaneously, also seemed to sense something. All six heads turned forward. His six dragon faces twisted ferociously, roaring forward in unison. The dragon's roar shaking heaven and earth. Countless lower cultivation cultivators and demons bled from the seven orifices, stunned by the roar. The six-headed sea dragon raised his hand, demon energy bursting from his palm, manifesting a giant bone knife out of thin air. He gripped the knife with both hands and slashed forward in fury. As the knife slashed out, demon energy surged like waves, transforming into black dragons that vied to reach the end of the world, sweeping heaven and earth. Any cultivator in the path was turned to ash on impact. Boom! A shocking thunderous sound came from the horizon. Sword light illuminated heaven and earth, and a terrifying sword chi, at a speed far surpassing the black dragon's demon energy, came killing from the horizon. Countless cultivators were overtaken by the sword chi along the way. These cultivators only felt heaven and earth brighten suddenly. Next, they were enveloped by a mysterious and vast sword intent, their pupils dilating. A multitude of swords surrounded by sword chi passing by them and forcefully entering their field of vision. Lu Lingjun, being of higher cultivation, reacted faster. Yet she was still overwhelmed by the countless swords. She didn't dare move, only able to watch the swords rush towards the six-headed sea dragon. Her beautiful eyes widened, full of shock. In merely the blink of an eye, over 1,000,000 swords converged into a gigantic sword chi, fiercely dispersing the black dragon demon energy, rushing headlong towards the six-headed sea dragon. The six-headed sea dragon reacted extremely quickly. After the slash, all six heads opened their mouths, spewing torrents of flames like a burning river sweeping the sky. Boom! The flames were shredded, and the massive demon body of the six-headed sea dragon was hit, forced to retreat repeatedly, flesh flying as if in a torrential downpour. After retreating 7 steps, the six-headed sea dragon stopped. The million-sword group had already pierced through his demon body, tracing an upward arc in the sky before halting. Countless cultivators and demonic creatures stared, trembling, as the demon energy dissipated and the dragon heads fell to the ground, raising clouds of dust. The terrifying demon body of the six-headed sea dragon was full of bloody holes, densely packed, horrifying. Its life force was completely extinguished. The sword intent of the Taitsung divine shocking sword forcefully eradicated its primordial spirit. A Mahayana demon core hovered among the million swords, the demon core of the six-headed sea dragon. Silence reigned over the world. Whether cultivators of the human race or demonic creatures, all gaped at the scene in shock. The nearly invincible six-headed sea dragon died just like that? Whoosh! 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 The million sword group began flying towards the Taitsung dynasty, the sound of swords breaking through the air incessantly, shattering the silence. Sword Venerable Fudao. It's our supreme sex sword Venerable Fudao. A great cultivator shouted in ecstasy. It wasn't just him. Those cultivators who had experienced the sword intent at the heavenly repair platform were all excited, chanting the name of sword Venerable Fudao. Lu Lingjun looked up at the million sword group resembling a meteor shower, eyes full of complex emotions. The white spirit demon emperor beneath her feet was equally stunned, speechless. Kill! Liang Songhai shouted loudly, equally excited. At his command, the cultivators of the Tsangtian sect led the charge against the demonic army. Witnessing the death of the six-headed sea dragon, the demonic army immediately fell into disarray, fleeing in a panic. The demonic kings leaped up, fleeing back to the demon land at full speed. The vast sword group swept over mountains and lakes, watched by cultivators, commoners, and demons alike along the way. Great Jiang Dynasty, Taichun Dynasty, North Sea Mountains. Sage Xianmiao stood on a hillside, watching the sword group flying towards the horizon, confusion in his eyes. Moments before he had seen the million sword group flying north, and now they had returned so quickly? He watched the million sword group disappear into the horizon, then stood in place, pondering. During the flight, Guan appeared out of nowhere in the sword group, seized the six-headed sea dragon's demon core, then vanished. He returned to the Mystic Valley Pavilion, unnoticed, having been gone for 2 breaths' time. He used his divine sense to guide the million sword group back to the outer city. Drawing on his Nirvana realm memory and insight, he returned each sword to its owner, causing excitement throughout the city. Killing the six-headed sea dragon granted Guan 800 years of lifespan, far less than what an 8th-rank spirit tree provided. Guan picked up the Taoist Xuanchuan and calmed his thoughts. This intervention could potentially advance the demonic catastrophe. If the demonic catastrophe arrived sooner, he would have no choice but to embark on a mass slaughter to reach a lifespan of 10 million years early. He did not want to slaughter the masses and fall into demonic ways, but for survival, he had to lower his principles. In gaining lifespans, Guan constantly worried about excessive killing, forming inner demons or sins. Such occurrences were not uncommon in the immortal cultivation world. Hence, he preferred to extend life through plants whenever possible. Of course, he also feared that too much killing would attract unbeatable enemies. He tried to avoid thinking about these things, wondering instead what abilities would be unlocked with a 10-million-year lifespan. In the outer city, Di Xie watched the ecstatic cultivators on the heavenly repair platform, lost in thought. With his perceptive power, he could sense that the demonic energy of the six-headed sea dragon had dissipated. How long had it been? Sword Venerable Fudao actually used others' swords to successfully slay the six-headed sea dragon. Di Xie knew the six-headed sea dragon. He disliked the six-headed sea dragon but had to admit its strength, ranking among the top in the 72 great demon kings. Being able to easily kill the six-headed sea dragon. How strong was Sword Venerable Fudao? Di Xie suddenly felt that the upcoming war between the two races had an unpredictable outcome. Sword Venerable Fudao might become the greatest obstacle for his father. He was not worried, even a bit expectant. Compared to the atmosphere of the demon clan, he preferred the atmosphere of the supreme sect. At least there was no internal strife. Di Xie looked into the distance, eyes playful, thinking curiously. Demon Master, you consider yourself to be extraordinary, thinking you can predict all things in heaven and earth. Could you have foreseen sword Venerable Fudao? He walked up to the heavenly repair platform, ready to continue observing the sword intent of sword Venerable Fudao. He had a premonition that the sword intent of sword Venerable Fudao would be his greatest opportunity in this life. Chapter 164. Demon Invasion. Hunting Down the Mountain. At the end of the year, Guan arrived at Outer Gate City and noticed that the streets were full of disciples discussing sword Venerable Fudao's feat of slaying the six-headed sea dragon. Some stalls were even selling six-headed sea dragon dolls, and there were various depictions of the creature, including illustrations of its death. As he looked at those pictures, he inexplicably thought of Shenzhen. Shenzhen was still in seclusion. If she weren't, she might have been inspired by this event as well. Not having seen her for many years, Guan found himself somewhat missing her. He wasn't missing her as a person, but rather her creative skills. He didn't want Shenzhen to stop writing, as long as she didn't write about him in her next book. Guan started wandering around the city, listening to the disciples praise sword Venerable Fudao, feeling secretly pleased, and the anxiety had been unable to shake off gradually diminished. The demons in the Northern Territory had been swept away, and no great demon king on par with the six-headed sea dragon had appeared. It seemed like everything was moving in a positive direction. However, Guan knew that the great demonic calamity was still approaching. Not only in the Northern Territory of the Great Jiang Dynasty, but demons were also continuously invading human territories from east to west, near the demon land borders, although on a small scale that various sects could not completely stop. Thankfully, the number of demons infiltrating was not yet large enough to shake the foundations of the 8 dynasties, so Guan could still endure. After wandering for a long time, Guan finally headed towards the book collection hall to submit his book. What happened next made Guan laugh and cry. Great Elder Fengshang hoped Guan could write sword Venerable Fudao into Shattering Void and enhance his image. This was the sect's intention. Guan pretended to be in a difficult situation, but then Fengshang said the sect had prepared 106-tier medicinal herb seeds for him, so he reluctantly agreed. When the new year arrived, Yilan and Zhenqin did not return, making Guan spend the festival with the disciples, feeling that something was missing compared to previous years. This suddenly made him feel a bit uneasy. Years later, if all his old friends had passed away, would New Year's become a sad occasion for him instead of a joyful one? As midnight approached and he arrived at Nianchu Cave, these feelings began to fade. No matter what, Tian Yaoer could at least accompany him for 18,000 years, and if she could undergo nirvana within that time, she'd accompany him even longer. However, he also had to learn to manage his own feelings and understand the nature of the world to achieve enlightenment. Next to the stone table, Guan and Tian Yaoer began roasting lamb legs, chatting and laughing. Tian Yaoer was always talkative when facing him, creating a festive atmosphere. By the way, Master, I've been hearing a strange sound lately, as if it's coming from outside. Could it be that a demon has discovered this cave? Tian Yaoer suddenly asked, her mouth greasy, face smeared with sauce, her frown look making Guan want to laugh. Guan replied, "Don't worry, no demon will intrude here. I've seen the one making that sound. It's only temporarily residing in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain." Hearing this, Tian Yaoer immediately felt relieved. "Oh, Master, where do you go after leaving the cave? Did you go live among humans?" Tian Yaoer asked. "Yes, I have other caves to tend to." "Ah, Master, you don't have other demons raised, do you?" "There are a few, but none as powerful as you." "Are there any female demons?" "Of course not. Those demons lack the capacity to shapeshift." "That's good. Master, do you have a Taoist friend?" Tian Yaoer seemed to have opened a can of worms, constantly pressing with questions. Guan raised an eyebrow under his mask and asked, "Where did you hear about Taoist friends?" Tian Yaoer took a bite of lamb, replying unclearly, "From the books you left, do you have a Taoist friend or not?" Guan answered, "Of course not." Tian Yaoer looked pleased, but Guan's next words made her face fall. "But there are a few women who might become my Taoist friends. I'm quite troubled, not knowing whom to choose." Tian Yaoer put down the lamb leg, wiped the grime off her face and asked seriously, "Master, do you think I'm suitable?" Guan glanced at her and said irritably, "What? You want to climb ranks?" "It's not that. I just thought I could meet the standards of the Taoist friend in the books. Besides, I'll never betray you like those in the books. I'll definitely live and die with you in the future." Tian Yaoer hastily explained, "You want to live and die with me, but I don't want to. I'm aiming for longevity." Guan was determined to live longer than heaven and earth, so he wouldn't be moved by such words. He replied grumpily, "Focus on your cultivation, little demon, and don't think about nonsensical things. Whether human or demon, cultivation should come first. Emotions should be at most a secondary pursuit." "All right, then what requirements do you have for a Taoist friend?" "I was just teasing you earlier. I won't seek a Taoist friend. If I did, imagine the sorrow when I have to bury her in the future." "That does seem reasonable. I asked you to read books so you could understand the world's ways, not think about feelings." "I understand no thoughts about feelings, but if master wants, I'm always ready." Seeing Tian Yaoer's serious expression, Guan's eyes couldn't help but drift downward, but he quickly looked away. He changed the topic and started talking about cultivation. Tian Yaoer pouted, feeling a bit disheartened, but still listened attentively. She could only see Guan twice a month, so she cherished their time together. After the new year, the name of Sword Venerable Fudao was already spreading across the world. The supreme sect wasn't idle either, issuing many demon-slaying tasks, prompting more disciples to descend the mountain to save the common people. Mystic Valley inside a pavilion. Guan was weaving a robe for himself. Normally, he didn't need to meditate or absorb energy, so he had plenty of time to pursue his hobbies, tailoring being one of them. The reason he wanted to weave a robe was that he was preparing to descend the mountain to slay demons and monsters. Partly to help the common people, and partly to seize the opportunity to extend his life, striving to reach a lifespan of 10 million years as soon as possible. He also wanted to experience the lives of Yi Lan and Jin Qin. Finally, Guan finished the robe, stored it in his storage bag, and then took up the Qinghong sword and walked out of the pavilion. He greeted Lu Jiujia and left Mystic Valley. Lu Jiujia wasn't curious about where he was going. After all, he frequently left Mystic Valley, and in the eyes of the disciples in the valley, the master was a busy man. Under the blue sky and white clouds, Guan stood on a cliff, wearing a dark purple robe. A belt cinched his waist, and an embroidered dark red phoenix adorned his robe, with the Qinghong sword sheathed at his waist. He took out an opera mask, put it on, and then placed a bamboo hat on his head. After adjusting himself, he used his divine sense to inspect his appearance. The figure looked good, exuding a compelling aura. Like a wandering hero in martial arts legends, Guan leapt into the forest below, quickly disappearing from sight. Hundreds of miles away, a battle was taking place in the wilds. Several escort vehicles were halted, and over a dozen armed escorts were fighting against attacking demon beasts from all directions. Behind the escort vehicles, there was a carriage with spooked horses neighing incessantly, inside which a mother and son clung to each other tightly. These armed escorts weren't cultivators. They were merely martial artists, no match for the demon beasts. Just as the escorts were about to despair, a strong wind swept through. Following that, a figure rushed out from the nearby forest, moving as swiftly as a hare, wielding a sword like the wind, cutting down one demon beast after another. In less than 3 breaths, all 9 demon beasts were dead. The escorts turned to look and could just barely make out an embroidered dark red phoenix on the figure's back. Before they could speak, the figure quickly disappeared. Amazing! That person must be a cultivator, right? Of course, how could a martial artist have such skills? Incredible, I couldn't even see how he made his moves. Me neither. I wonder which sect that cultivator is from. I tried to apprentice at the ancient sky sect when I was young, but got rejected due to a lack of spirit root. On the other side in the forest, hearing their discussion, Guan's lips curled up slightly under his mask. Saving people like this felt quite good, perhaps even matching the sense of accomplishment from slaying the 6-headed sea dragon. With that, Guan began his journey of hunting demons and monsters. He only killed those demons posing a threat to the common people, ensuring that every act of killing also saved lives. Saving one life could be more meritorious than building a 7-storied pagoda. Would this hold true in this realm? Anyway, Guan felt at peace. Killing one demon, saving one person. Good and evil balanced, he shouldn't be burdened with sin. Late at night, a group of cultivators were meditating in the forest, campfires scattered around, with 5 or 6 people by each fire. Yilan and Zhenqin were among them. Yilan was meditating, absorbing energy, while Zhenqin was discussing recent demon encounters and events in the immortal cultivation world with nearby disciples. I wonder what the 6-headed sea dragon looked like. I heard it ate 5 mystic heart realm great cultivators alive. Zhenqin said softly, her face full of curiosity and fear. When she mentioned the 6-headed sea dragon, the other disciples instantly became excited, starting to talk about Sword Venerable Fudao. After slaying the 6-headed sea dragon, Sword Venerable Fudao's reputation in the immortal cultivation world had reached its peak. Everyone was curious about how powerful he truly was. No matter how strong the opponent, Sword Venerable Fudao could always kill them effortlessly. As they chatted, they started discussing some of the major happenings in the immortal cultivation world. Recently, Hateful Heaven Divine Sword Su Han absorbed the spiritual power of 20 nascent soul realm cultivators. He is said to be on the verge of entering the divinity transformation realm. What kind of demon skill is he practicing? A male disciple worriedly said. They spent their years slaying demons and monsters outside, so they were concerned about running into Su Han. Listening to their discussion about Su Han, Zhenqin suddenly felt downhearted. What's this? You want to know what cultivation techniques Su Han practices? Well, you're in luck tonight, you'll find out. A chilling laugh suddenly echoed through the forest, startling the disciples of the law enforcement hall. They all quickly stood up, with Yilan also rising, drawing the white spirit sword, ready for battle. Prepare for battle, Yilan said in a deep voice. The disciples each took out their magic artifacts and quickly gathered together. Looking around, the silent forest under the night sky was so eerie, with mist swirling in the depths, obscuring any figures. Yilan suddenly looked in a direction and frowned. The others did the same, only to see figures emerging from the darkness, carrying a coffin. Chapter 165. 8 million years of lifespan. Looking at the group of black silhouettes carrying a coffin, Yilan furrowed her brows tightly. The other disciples were the same. They couldn't discern the aura of the other party, which made their hearts sink. The newcomers were indeed the 9 Nether 13 evil. Underneath the night sky, they were like 13 ghostly shadows so terrifying. We are disciples of the law enforcement hall of the Supreme Sect. What do you intend to do? A male disciple shouted in a deep voice. In the Taitsong dynasty, as disciples of the Supreme Sect, they still had some confidence. Upon hearing this, the 9 Nether 13 evil were unmoved. Seeing them continually approaching, the disciples of the law enforcement hall had to retreat. All right, don't scare them. Let them leave quickly. A weak voice came from inside the coffin. Zhenqin widened her eyes and couldn't help but shout. Seen your brother Su? Su Han? The disciples of the law enforcement hall were greatly shocked, speeding up their retreat, and Yilan's face also became serious. Su Han's name in the world of immortal cultivation was like thunder, but his reputation was of fiendish ferocity. So it's your junior sister. No wonder you want to let them leave. Then hurry up and get lost. A black silhouette said sinisterly. Zhenqin wanted to speak, but Yilan stopped her, and without uttering harsh words, led the disciples away immediately. As they left, Zhenqin frequently looked back, her gaze falling on the coffin, but unfortunately, she couldn't see through it. Just like that, Yilan and the others quickly departed. The 9 Nether 13 evil then put down the coffin, and the coffin lid was opened. Su Han sat up from inside, his hair disheveled, one hand clutching the coffin board. The 9 Nether 13 evil spread out, setting up formations in all directions. Su Han stared in the direction where Yilan, Zhenqin, and others had left, his eyes complex, lost in thought. Thousands of miles away, above the forest, Guan stood atop a tree, watching the scene from afar. He embraced the Qinghong sword, his face concealed by a mask, only his eyes flickering with a ghostly light. After watching for a while, Guan finally turned around and leaped into the mountain forest. Spring arrived, everything revived, the sky over the supreme sect turned blue, dotted with white clouds, and the scenery was delightful. In the third medicine valley, Guan was picking medicinal herbs, an Xian following beside him, holding a bamboo basket. In those days, Guan would go out daily to save people and slay demons. Although his lifespan did not increase rapidly, it still increased by several thousand years each day. Mainly, he wasn't solely targeting demons. In the process, he also experienced the various states of the mortal world. Valley Master, have you any news of my brother? An Xian suddenly asked, a question she had held back for a long time. She knew Guan was acquainted with Enhao, especially familiar with Enhao's master, LV Baitian. While picking medicinal herbs, Guan replied, I heard that he is in Tianwei and is said to marry the princess of Tianwei. The auspicious date is not yet decided, and he is currently in seclusion cultivating in Tianwei. This matter was not secretive and had already spread within the inner sect. As the first genius of the Supreme Sect, any of Enhao's actions could stir up rumors. The Supreme Sect had already sent elders to discuss the matter. The sect supported Enhao's marriage with the Tianwei imperial family. Hearing this, an Xian sighed in relief and asked smilingly, how is the princess of Tianwei in terms of talent and beauty? In terms of talent, that I don't know. It said she's quite beautiful. You know your brother, don't you? If the looks weren't good enough, would he even consider her? Guan responded. Talking about Enhao brought more smiles to Enzin's face. She began recounting Enhao's childhood embarrassing moments, and Guan listened intently without showing any impatience. Guan also felt happy that Enhao could get married. Despite not having married himself, just thinking about the disciple he raised getting married uplifted Guan's mood. After finishing picking the medicinal herbs, the two headed towards the pavilion complex. Guan had an Xian bring the herbs to the storage building, while he went upstairs alone to relax and read. By dusk, Guan left the third medicine valley and continued with his roaming plan. Months passed swiftly, and Guan's 90th birthday arrived. During this period, he had slain over 12,300 demon beasts, gaining nearly 400,000 years of lifespan, bringing his total lifespan to over 8 million years. All the cultivators in the world were slaying demons and rescuing suffering people. Therefore, Guan had not yet made a name for himself, but the tens of thousands he had saved remembered him. Sooner or later, his deeds would be widely known. 8 dynasties were still at war, pushing for unification, while the immortal cultivation world was resisting demons. Yet no matter how many demons were killed, the number of demons in the lands of the 8 dynasties kept increasing. The demon calamity was different from what many imagined. It wasn't about countless demons attacking all at once but a continuous infiltration. Perhaps when the demon ancestor resurrected, the situation would be entirely different. A sweltering summer day. Disguised, Guan walked along a mountain path. Along the way, there were many refugees, with sallow faces, dirty and disheveled, staggering along like walking skeletons. Even as they brushed past Guan, they didn't turn their heads, as if nothing mattered to them. Such situations were not new to Guan. These refugees' homes were likely destroyed by demons, forcing them to head to other cities. However, demons weren't the only troubles in these times. There were also evil people preying on the vulnerable. Looting was common. Guan had even killed several evil men who were assaulting women. Guan also did not look at the refugees. He was pondering a question. If he didn't have the ability to steal lifespans, how would he survive in this world? From the Holy Land nurturing demons to harm the living to the common folks suffering from demons and evil men. Even though Guan wanted to cultivate in peace, if he could do something within his power without endangering himself, he would still like to help. As he walked and pondered, he suddenly sensed an aura coming from the south. He ceased his thoughts and extended his divine sense. The divine sense of the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm swept over mountains and rivers, lakes and seas, arriving at the vast blue ocean. He saw a brilliant white light appear at the horizon, carefully observing. It was a series of white lotuses forming a staircase in the air, continuously extending forward, while the lotuses at the back disappeared. A Taoist was stepping on the white lotus steps, as if an immortal walking in the mortal world. Mahayana cultivator. Finally, a Mahayana cultivator returned. Guan felt relieved. If he had to face the demon calamity alone, he would indeed consider fleeing with others. Relying on a lone individual's strength to avert the calamity of extinction would certainly attract the attention of all factions in the Seven Stars spirit realm, and those hidden forces. They would investigate him madly. Even if he hid deeply, he couldn't guarantee they wouldn't find him. This didn't align with his cultivation philosophy. He needed others to share the burden, so he could act with less pressure. Subsequently, Guan quickened his pace and continued his demon-slaying plan. He didn't kill every demon he encountered. He only targeted those attacking villages and people. If he could earn hundreds of thousands of years of lifespan each year, it wouldn't take more than 3 years for him to break through to the next realm. Guan had high expectations for the second realm of the immortal path. The return of the Taoist Lord of Tsangtian sect. This news was like a bombshell, shaking the entire world of immortal cultivation. The news reached the Supreme Sect, and the disciples were thrilled. Legends about the Taoist Lord started spreading wildly in various cities. When Guan went to the book collection hall at the outer sect to return books, he heard many disciples discussing the Taoist Lord. Although information about the Taoist Lord was scarce, one thing was clear. The Tsangtian sect regarded him as a Mahayana cultivator. After years of calamities, Mahayana realm was no longer a secret in the world of immortal cultivation. It symbolized the pinnacle that mortal spirits could reach, representing the highest realm in immortal cultivation. With the return of the Taoist Lord, various sects were actively contacting their long-out supreme elders, hoping for the emergence of a Mahayana cultivator. It's worth mentioning that this month, the Wuzhen dynasty surrendered to the Taizong dynasty, which expanded its territory yet again, and Tianwei annexed the Great Zhao dynasty. Thus, the land of the once 9 dynasties turned into 6 dynasties. In terms of vastness, the Taizong dynasty was the largest. Even in the world of immortal cultivation, the name Li Xiandao was often mentioned. After leaving the book collection hall, Guan walked on the streets, listening to the surrounding disciples' discussions about the various events in the immortal cultivation world. He enjoyed it greatly. The immortal cultivation world was consolidating its strength, so he couldn't afford to fall behind. He aimed to break through to the second realm of the immortal path quietly before the world was unified. An hour later, Guan left the outer gate city and headed towards the North Sea mountain to the medicine garden of sage Xianmiao to pick herbs. By midnight, Guan moved again. This time he came to a valley, just under 200 miles from the nearest town. The valley was filled with dense demon energy, and there were dozens of captives and over 200 demons, the strongest of whom had reached the nascent soul realm. That demon was severely injured and had ordered his subordinates to capture people. Guan stood on a cliff, overlooking the flickering firelight in the valley, suddenly capturing an aura, his eyes narrowing beneath the mask. He didn't hesitate and jumped down. Facing the demons in the mortal world, Guan never used spells or divine skills. He relied solely on swordsmanship to slay demons. After half an hour, in the valley, dozens of raggedly dressed commoners knelt on the grass, kowtowing to Guan. On the cliff face before Guan hung a huge cat demon, covered in blood, its demon body embedded in the cliff, with stones continually falling off. Besides that, surrounding Guan were the bodies of demons, a chilling sight. Guan said, "Hurry and leave." Upon hearing this, the commoners quickly got up and ran towards the valley entrance. Guan's gaze then fell on a shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon's corpse, writhing on the ground. A woman suddenly turned around and said, "Benefactor, that demon was good to us, even trying to save us. Please don't kill him." As she spoke, the other commoners who were running away also stopped. Seeing the demon, they all spoke up, pleading for mercy. Guan waved his hand, and the commoners had to leave. The woman bit her lip and eventually left as well. Soon the valley fell silent. The shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon staggered to his feet, looking more like a human than a demon. "Kill me if you want." Zhang Buku looked at the mysterious sword cultivator ahead, gritting his teeth, his eyes showing no fear. Chapter 166. The Appearance of the Green Hero. 9 masters under heaven looking at the shape-shifting demon in front of him. With a stubborn expression, Guan's memories were stirred. He recalled scenes of his time with his eldest senior brother, Zhang Chuanqiu. In his memory, Zhang Chuanqiu aged from youth to old age, representing the life of Zhang Chuanqiu. This shape-shifting demon was Zhang Chunqi's son, Zhang Buku. When they first met, Zhang Buku was just a boy, but now he had grown up. Seeing Zhang Buku in such a miserable state now, his eldest senior brother would surely feel heartbroken, wouldn't he? Guan thought so, and his thoughts began to drift. Zhang Buku's injuries were not inflicted by him. Before he intervened, Zhang Buku was being bullied by demons. When he killed the demons earlier, Zhang Buku pounced on him, but he kicked him to the ground. Zhang Buku could barely stand up until all the demons were dead. According to the words of those commoners, Zhang Buku had indeed not committed any evil deeds. But why did this kid have an attitude of seeking death? Guan raised the Qinghong sword in his hand, pointing at him and asked, "Do you really want to die?" Zhang Buku did not hesitate, his face twisted in rage. And he lunged directly at Guan. Guan held the sword in a reverse grip, pressing the hilt against Zhang Buku's chest. His upper body leaned back, making Zhang Buku unable to reach him. Before Zhang Buku could change his move, Guan took off his mask and placed it on Zhang Buku's face. Zhang Buku instinctively retreated, then took off the mask, glaring furiously at Guan. As he was about to throw the mask at Guan, his eyes widened, and he looked astonished. "Gu, martial uncle?" Zhang Buku cautiously asked. Guan wasn't afraid of revealing his identity, because although the strength he displayed when slaying demons was strong, it was far from his true cultivation level, and only this way would Zhang Buku stop his attack. Guan asked with a smile, "Do you still remember me?" Zhang Buku wiped the blood off his face, excitedly replying, "Of course I remember. You even gave me a spirit energy elixir. How could I forget?" Guan sheathed his sword, then took out some healing medicine and handed it to him, instructing him to heal first. Zhang Buku did not refuse. He took the elixir and sat down to meditate, healing his injuries while watching Guan collect demon treasures. An hour later, the two of them came to a small river. Zhang Buku squatted down, beginning to wash his face and clean his wounds in the process. After he finished cleaning, he turned to look at Guan, who had put the mask back on, and asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, why are you dressed like this?" He was no longer the ignorant boy of the past. After wandering the immortal cultivation world for so long, he was well aware of the supreme sect's status. Within the Taizong dynasty, wherever the disciples of the supreme sect went, they were always honored. Guan replied, "In an era of chaos caused by demons, although I have the heart to save the suffering, I also fear trouble. That's why I wear a mask, not wanting to be recognized." Zhang Buku suddenly understood. He remembered his father's evaluation of martial Uncle Gu. Cowardly, cautious, yet possessing a warm heart. "Be sure not to tell anyone about what I did," Guan added. Zhang Buku chuckled. "Don't worry, I'm very tight-lipped. Besides, martial Uncle Gu just saved my life. How could I ever harm you?" Guan patted his head and asked, "Why were you mingling with those demons?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Buku's smile instantly froze, and he lowered his head. The night wind was hot, and Guan looked at Zhang Buku's back, sighing in his heart. There was no need to ask, Guan could guess his predicament. The union of human and demon, born in a human environment, but as he grew up, his demon energy increased. Humans would not tolerate him, and his views had been shaped by Zhang Chuanqiu. How could he integrate into the demon clan? Guan had previously heard those demons mocking him for his impure blood, which showed that the demon clan did not accept him either. "I recently acquired a cultivation technique, said to be from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. As I am from a righteous path sect, I cannot cultivate it, so I might as well pass it on to you," Guan suddenly said, then took out a secret book from his storage bag. It was titled Demon Shadow Divine Skill. In reality, it was the cultivation technique for the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Upon hearing this, Zhang Buku could not help but raise his head to look. Staring at Gu An's outstretched hand, he felt a bit dazed. At 66 years old, only this martial Uncle Gu had cared for him without expecting anything in return. He stood up, hesitating. Guan directly stuffed the secret book into his arms, saying, "Take it, and remember, do not tell anyone that I gave it to you." Zhang Buku took a deep breath. He raised his eyes to look at Guan and asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, do you think I am human or demon? Why can't either humans or demons accept me?" Guan asked in surprise. "Who said neither can accept you? I accept you. Does it matter whether you are human or demon? Buku, the suffering you are enduring now may be due to a troubled world. Think of those people trapped in the valleys. How many can control their own fate? You can cultivate, which already surpasses 90% of living beings." Zhang Buku fell into a trance, thinking about those who were suffering. What matters is not the identity you were born with, but the existence you want to become in this life, Guan said earnestly. Zhang Buku took a deep breath and said, "Thank you, Martial Uncle Gu, for your guidance." Guan feared that Zhang Buku might seek death, so he continued, "When your father was young, he always said how wonderful it would be if his spirit root qualification weren't poor. He also wanted to explore the world, to travel across Great Jiang north and south, to reach the highest point and ask the heavens if there really were immortals. What you possess now is something your father could not touch in his entire life. Cultivate well, and immortal cultivation will guide you to find the meaning of life." Zhang Buku's maximum lifespan was 2,300 years. Even with half demon blood, it proved that his qualification was not poor. After saying this, Guan patted Zhang Buku's shoulder, and then left behind a storage bag before leaving. Zhang Buku hurriedly asked, "Martial Uncle Gu, where are you going?" "To save those who, like you, are suffering." Guan waved his hand without looking back. Zhang Buku watched his back, his eyes full of admiration. He understood the background of Martial Uncle Gu, who had no parents, born as a house servant, while he at least had his father accompany him to adulthood. Martial Uncle Gu was so carefree, so why should he lament and blame himself? When he noticed the storage bag on the ground, Zhang Buku couldn't help but pick it up. Just as he was about to call out to Martial Uncle Gu, he could no longer see his figure. He probed the storage bag with his divine sense, and immediately a complicated expression appeared on his face. Inside were all the demon treasures left behind by the earlier demons. He held the storage bag tightly, lowered his head, and tears streamed down his cheeks. As he cried, his mouth began to smile. "I will cultivate well, Martial Uncle Gu. One day I will repay you and make you proud." A year passed by quickly. During this year, great cultivators gradually returned from overseas, and each great cultivator's life deeds were promoted by his sect, spreading throughout the world, inspiring all cultivators with boundless enthusiasm. The great calamity of demons was terrifying, but just like Pan's book Shattering Void, the human race, with their perseverance, would surely endure all calamities. Over the past year, Guan had led a fulfilling life. In the time not spent picking medicinal herbs, he went down the mountain to save the suffering. If he encountered bullied demons, he would also help them. Gradually, a legend arose among the people about a swordsman, who is now called the Green Hero. Later, somehow, this legend evolved into simply calling him Green Hero. In the Mystic Valley, in front of the pavilion, Guan was sparring in swordsmanship with Chu Jingfeng. Yilan watched from the side. Eventually, Guan barely defeated Chu Jingfeng. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, lamenting, "Without using spiritual power, it is truly difficult to win against Brother Chu relying solely on swordsmanship." Chu Jingfeng panted heavily and smiled. "Your swordsmanship is excellent. I don't mind losing." Though he lost, he wasn't discouraged because Guan's victory wasn't easy. Afterward, he took his leave, not wanting to disturb Guan and Yilan. Guan took Yilan upstairs. Once inside, Guan went to wash his face first. Yilan closed the door, walked to the desk and began to speak. "Recently, more and more demons are appearing at the borders of the 5 dynasties. There's even a great demon in the mystic heart realm. It seems that the death of the 6-headed sea dragon did not deter the demon land. Over the year, the Chentang dynasty had merged into the Great Jiang dynasty, and the world was short of another dynasty. I have received information that there are 72 great demon kings in the demon land, and the six-headed sea dragon was just one of them. When the true great calamity of demons arrives, I don't know how the human race will resist. I think relying solely on the 9 great cultivators in the world is far from enough, Yilan said, full of worry. The title of 9 great cultivators was a name proclaimed by the supreme sect, including the Taoist Lord of Tsangtian sect, the Taoist of Immortality of 3 Pure Ones Mountain, and the sword Venerable Fu Dao of the supreme sect. With the title 9 great cultivators spreading, the immortal cultivation world's morale was greatly boosted, and the supreme sect was frequently mentioned as a result. LV Baitian had thoroughly studied the techniques Guan had taught him. Guan turned and smiled. The strength of the immortal cultivation world is at least continuously improving, which is a good thing. As long as there is hope, it is fine. Yilan added. It is said that above the 72 great demon kings, there are even more terrifying existences. It is unknown what the demons in the demon land are planning. Don't think about those things. You and I cannot change the grand trend of the world. All we can do is go with the flow and survive. Guan comforted her. Yilan nodded, saying, If the great Jiang does fall, brother, let's go south and head to the sea. I've been making preparations. Although the ocean is dangerous, at least it's a way out. If we can find a small island to live on in the future, even if it's only for 10 or 20 years, it wouldn't be a wasted life. Guan smiled and asked, What kind of life would that be? Just the 2 of us? Wouldn't that be boring? How could it be boring? We would work at sunrise and rest at sunset. I have many ways to amuse you. Yilan raised her eyebrows at Guan as she spoke, her gaze truly making Guan's imagination run wild. Guan gave a mock cough and said, If it really comes to that, then it can only be so. After hearing this, Yilan became excited and started talking about the resources she had been preparing. Watching her smile, Guan thought to himself, You can rest assured, sister. I will not let you wander aimlessly. Guan's lifespan had already exceeded 9,300,000 years, getting closer to the 10 million mark. This year, if he made an effort, there's a chance he could accumulate a lifespan of 10 million years by the end of the year. For his sister, he had to test the edge of the great calamity of demons. Chapter 167 Breakthrough of 10 million years lifespan. The clouds churned ominously, the sky was darkened, the ground below crisscrossed with rivers of lava. From a high vantage point, it seemed as though the earth had cracked open, with a searing hot air filling the space between heaven and earth, and a demon fog swirling with embers. Volcanoes stretched endlessly into the horizon, some still erupting. Within the mountains, countless demons twisted and soared. Fish even leaped from the lava, causing bones to rise and fall. Upon the peak of a majestic volcano stood an altar. Seated atop the altar in meditation was a man in a black robe. The robe was vast, his long hair giving the impression that the black robe covered 1/3 of the altar's surface. A snake-like tail, covered in black scales, extended from beneath the robe, draping over the edge of the altar. In front of the black-robed man, a giant skeleton held a bronze mirror, inside which demon energy surged, as if thousands of evil ghosts struggled to break free. A great demon with a tiger's head and a human's body flew in on a demonic cloud, landing beside the altar. Demon Master, His Majesty the Demon Emperor is preparing to go to the ancient tomb of the demon ancestor. He asks if you will accompany him? The tiger-headed demon bowed respectfully as it inquired. The black-robed man on the altar was the Demon Master, a figure within the demon land second only to the Demon Emperor in power. With an air of indifference, the Demon Master replied, Tell His Majesty my divination is at a critical juncture. I cannot accompany him. The tiger-headed demon continued to ask, His Majesty wants to know what he should do if the demon ancestor regains consciousness earlier than expected. Assure His Majesty that the soul of the demon ancestor is merely a shell. Its spiritual wisdom has been eroded by heaven and earth. Without finding a suitable soul, it's impossible for him to be resurrected. But His Majesty needs an answer. The tiger-headed demon hesitated. Hearing this, the Demon Master became silent, and his tail ceased its movement, increasing the tiger-headed demon's tension. After a long while, the demon master said in a low voice, "If he indeed regains consciousness, have his majesty destroy him." "As you command." Relieved, the tiger-headed demon bowed deeply and departed immediately. Once the tiger-headed demon disappeared into the horizon, the demon master slowly raised his head, revealing a nightmarish face. Half of it was just bare bones. His eyeballs seemed on the verge of falling out, and two dagger-like fangs protruded from his mouth. With blood-red pupils, he gazed into the bronze mirror ahead, mumbling to himself, "Why have the fates changed?" In the late autumn, in the book collection hall of the inner sect, Guan arrived on the third floor and found Elder Su Lu, asking, "Recently, a batch of disciples from overseas has returned, including a supreme elder. Is there an ocean map available?" Su Lu raised his eyes to look at him, smiling as he said, "You've already asked 3 times. It seems your patience has paid off." He opened a drawer, took out a jade scroll, and said, "The map is here. Use your divine sense to read it, but you can't take it away. You have to look at it here." "Thank you, Elder." Guan quickly expressed his gratitude, then picked up the jade scroll and walked to a nearby chair. He did not fear suspicion. If anyone investigated, he could present himself as Pan, and Pan An's justification would be sufficient. Gu An's lifespan was already 9,995,000 years, just 5,000 years short of the 10 million year mark. In his current situation, 5,000 years of lifespan was no problem at all. If he waited a month, he would achieve it slowly, or he could expedite it by harvesting heavenly treasures from the Star Master Cave. Sitting down, Guan focused his divine sense into the jade scroll. Soon he saw the vast ocean from a high perspective, seeing the edge of the Taitsong dynasty, leading down into the ocean. The edges of the map were shrouded in dense fog, signifying the unknown. From a macro view, the ocean seemed devoid of landmasses larger than this continent, with only islands of various sizes, some as large as the Taitsong dynasty. When he focused his divine sense on a particular point, the view zoomed in, allowing him to see detailed scenes of that part of the ocean, including mighty waves and the silhouettes of sea demons. The cultivator who created this jade scroll likely had a very high cultivation level, perhaps even a supreme elder? An hour later, Guan withdrew his divine sense, stood up, and returned the jade scroll to Su Lu, sighing, "The ocean is truly vast." Su Lu placed the jade scroll back in the drawer, smiling as he asked, "You're studying ocean maps. You're not planning to escape, are you?" Guan responded righteously, "How could that be? I believe the Supreme Sect can overcome the great demon calamity. Why would I flee? I am merely curious about this world." "Really? Quite a few people have asked me for ocean maps lately, even true disciples. I thought the Supreme Sect was about to disband." Su Lu chuckled. Guan asked, "And what about you? If the Supreme Sect needed all disciples to fight to the death, what would you choose?" Su Lu smiled. "This old bag of bones is ready to be buried within the Supreme Sect. I've even prepared my tombstone." Guan couldn't help but show a look of admiration. After chatting for a while, Guan bowed and took his leave. After descending the stairs, a figure emerged from the staircase leading upstairs. It was a masked woman, dressed in simple robes, her hair wound into a bun by a wooden hairpin. She approached Su Lu. Su Lu raised his hand in greeting, smiling as he asked, "Senior, what do you need?" The masked woman drew several jade scrolls from her sleeve and said, "If that disciple comes looking for maps again, you can give him these." Accepting the jade scrolls, Su Lu couldn't help but ask, "Do you know him?" "In a way, yes. Someone wants to take him as a disciple, and he has another identity worth cultivating." Leaving these words, the masked woman vanished into thin air. Looking at the jade scrolls on the table, Su Lu muttered to himself, "Another identity? He's just a Foundation establishment realm cultivator, always reading Audiobooks. What identity could he have? Could it be Panin? Impossible. How could Panin enjoy reading Taoist Sunshin's books? Is he the author of the Supreme Secret Records, writing under his real name?" Winter set in, bringing late snowfall this year. After nightfall, Guan first went to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion to harvest a batch of medicinal herbs, and then replant them. Leaving the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, after a few steps, he arrived at the Nianchu Cave on Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Tian Yaoer was practicing the Limitless Freedom Step, her figure moving deftly. Despite the short distance, the divine skills were already evident in her movements. This demoness comprehension was indeed high, but to reach 100 miles in one step, or even 1,000, would require many more years. As for achieving Guan's level, he currently saw no hope. With just a glance, Guan turned and began gathering medicinal herbs. Tian Yaoer spotted him, her face lighting up with delight as she quickly rushed over. A fragrant breeze hit Guan, and Tian Yaoer hugged him, rubbing her face against his chest, causing him some exasperation. Why was this girl getting more and more clingy? Why do you suddenly have a fragrance? Guan asked, raising an eyebrow, lightly patting Tian Yaoer's thigh as she became even bolder. Hugging was one thing, but using her legs to rub against him was too much. Tian Yaoer looked up, giggling. I don't know either. Maybe it's my natural scent. Master, do you like it? Guan pressed his hand to her forehead, pushing her away. It's passable. I have to pick herbs, so you keep practicing. Guan was sincere. Although Tian Yaoer smelled good, it didn't stir his heart. Tonight he would reach his 10-million-year lifespan. Tian Yaoer didn't listen but followed him, asking about his preferences while he harvested. Guan absent-mindedly responded, his thoughts already drifting overseas. He had begun to envision higher realms. After a while, Guan suddenly sensed something, pausing briefly before continuing his harvest. His divine sense reached out beyond Nianchu Cave, scanning the distance. In the darkness, demon fog swirled, and beyond the mountains, colossal creatures moved. Upon closer inspection, he saw a group of cultivators besieging an ancient species 1,000 feet tall, causing the earth to tremble. The ancient species resembled a turtle, with a mountain, which was also a volcano, on its shell and 3 snake-like heads continually spewing demonic flames. Among the besieging cultivators, someone familiar caught his eye. Ji Xiaoyu. Why was she near Heavenly Phoenix Mountain? Ji Xiaoyu's cultivation level had reached the nascent Soul Realm's 7th layer. The cultivation levels of those with her were all at least Divinity Transformation Realm, numbering 27, including one Mystic Heart Realm cultivator watching from afar. Guan could sense a demonic energy approaching from the distance, a cultivation level at the Mystic Heart Realm's 5th layer. Were these cultivators from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm? Guan pondered quietly, without pausing in his actions. Before long, the Mystic Heart Realm Great Demon attacked, forcing the Mystic Heart Realm cultivator to intervene. A battle between Mystic Heart Realm cultivators erupted, prompting Ji Xiaoyu and the others to retreat from the battlefield. Seeing the evenly matched Mystic Heart Realm battle, Guan retracted his divine sense and continued gathering medicinal herbs earnestly. After a while, Guan abruptly stopped as 2 notifications appeared before his eyes. Your lifespan has first surpassed 10 million years, activating the lifespan fusion function. Lifespan fusion. Consume lifespan to break the rules of heaven and earth and the laws of the heavenly Tao, fusing different divine skills, spells, and powers. The consumption is determined by the fused objects. Fusion? Guan's first thought was of his 5 elements treasure body. He could finally fuse its cultivation technique into the 5 elements skill. Expectancy shone in his eyes. Master, why did you stop? Asked Tian Yaoer nearby. Guan replied, I was wondering if the amount of herbs has decreased, worried you might be stealing some. With that, he continued picking herbs. Tian Yaoer grew anxious, swearing she hadn't stolen any. Guan teased her for a bit before assuring her he was joking. Tian Yaoer, dissatisfied, pouted and glared at him as though she wanted to eat him alive. It was the first time Guan had seen her truly angry. Once the herbs were gathered, Guan placed an arm around her shoulder, comforting. Don't be mad. Later, I'll teach you a powerful spell. Tian Yaoer pouted. The primordial earth immortal skill and limitless freedom step are already enough for me to practice. I don't need spells. Then what do you want? Let me think. How about you stay with me for a night? To practice cultivation? No, to read books together, while lying down. Hearing this, Guan immediately sensed something amiss. This girl was getting bolder. Chapter 168. Arrival in the ocean, merging cultivation technique. Faced with Tian Yao's multiple attempts at pleading, Guan finally agreed to stay with her overnight. Tonight, he would break through a lifespan of 10 million years, allowing himself to relax for an evening. After Guan agreed, Tian Yao became even more cheerful. To celebrate reaching a 10 million year lifespan, Guan also returned to Mystic Valley to fetch some lamb for a barbecue, which moved Tian Yao greatly. She even thought Guan was commemorating the special day. During the barbecue, Guan's divine sense remained locked on the battlefield at the edge of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. More and more demons were gathering. The great cultivator in the mystic heart realm leading Ji Xiaoyu and the others could not secure victory immediately, which dragged Ji Xiaoyu and the others into the battle. If the fight continued like this, doom was likely. It was uncertain whether these people were from the Ji family, or from the Seven Stars spirit realm. Guan pondered this, while chatting with Tian Yao, making sure she did not notice any flaws in his behavior. An hour later, the great cultivator in the mystic heart realm sustained severe injuries, and had to lead Ji Xiaoyu and the others to escape. But by now, it was too late to flee. Guan lay under the tree, giving pointers to Tian Yao on her cultivation. Tian Yao was continuously practicing the limitless freedom step in front of him. Occasionally he gave his critiques. For each of his comments, Tian Yao felt aggrieved, her small mouth pouting. "You promised to lie down and read books together." "Liar! Big liar!" The more Tian Yao trained, the redder her eyes became. Guan found her expression amusing. Today he would teach her a lesson. The harder you try to get something, the tougher it is to obtain. That was the meaning of life. If she started having these wild thoughts after just a few years, how would she endure thousands, or even tens of thousands of years? Guan was moved by his own broad-mindedness. Tian Yao was indeed lucky to have met him. If it were another master, she would be doomed. Under the black sky, Ji Xiaoyu, clad in black, was fleeing quickly through the wilderness haunted by monsters and demons. Upon seeing her figure, these creatures all charged toward her. With a sword in her right hand, she used the heavenly dragon demon suppressing form. A golden dharma aspect appeared behind her, and golden dragons emerged from it, massacring demons and monsters from all directions. Soon, she dissolved the heavenly dragon demon suppressing form and slew demons and monsters with her sword. She could no longer tell directions, and could only run in a single direction. She did not know how much time had passed. Ji Xiaoyu's spiritual power depleted. As she ran, she took spirit energy elixirs, but the spiritual power provided by these elixirs was completely inadequate for fighting. She stopped beneath a hill, swiftly took out small flags and talisman papers, and within 5 breaths, set up a formation, becoming invisible within a circled area. She sat down to meditate, beginning to cultivate energy. Demons flew over her head, unable to see her form. However, the ground began to tremble, rocks jumped up, making Ji Xiaoyu open her eyes and frown. From her viewpoint, a colossal figure loomed behind the mountains, faintly discernible. It was a giant demon in shape-shifting form, with a human-like body and a lion's head. Its long mane twisted like tendrils, horrifyingly menacing in the dark night. "Where do you think you're escaping to, little lady?" A cold, violent voice rang out, followed by a storm that swept through the mountain wilderness, kicking up waves of dust. After the gust hit Ji Xiaoyu's formation, the airborne rocks and currents avoided the formation, which highlighted its outline instead. Ji Xiaoyu stared at the approaching giant demon silhouette with a calm expression, without a trace of fear in her eyes. She merely sighed softly, and a faint golden mark appeared on her forehead. Before long, the terrifying giant demon arrived in front of her. He squatted slowly, the cloud-like sea revealing his lion head with sharp fangs, blood-red eyes, and a mane, like flames from hell, blazing fiercely. Suddenly, the terrifying giant demon stopped. He raised his eyes to look behind Ji Xiaoyu. The golden mark on Ji Xiaoyu's forehead had expanded, covering her entire forehead like a complex network of lines. She sensed something and turned to look. On top of the hill behind her stood a figure, A man in purple clothes with a mask on his face, standing against the wind. She was secretly startled, not having noticed the other approaching. "Where did you come from?" the terrifying lion demon roared in anger, swinging a palm toward the hill. With one palm strike, Ji Xiaoyu's formation shattered under immense pressure. Small flags plunged into the ground. Talisman papers fluttered. And her hairpiece was blown off, her hair dancing wildly. Boom! With a deafening roar, the earth shook and the sky trembled, forcing even Ji Xiaoyu, in the seventh layer of the nascent soul realm, to close her eyes. When the unsettling aura dissipated, she opened her eyes to find the terrifying lion demon left with only his upper body, blood raining down. The demon clouds in the night sky dispersed, revealing splendid, beautiful stars. Ji Xiaoyu's eyes widened in astonishment. That lion demon was so powerful, even her void-crossing realm companions were devoured by it. Subconsciously, she turned to look. The mysterious man still stood on the hill, his arms hanging naturally, as if he had not been the one to strike. The man was none other than Guan. To avoid being recognized, Guan had made his figure larger, taller by one head, with disheveled hair and an almost invisible aura. He didn't use the 9 extremes yin-yang body, because news of Sword Venerable Fudao mastering the Demon Shadow Divine skill had already spread. He didn't want Ji Xiaoyu linking him to Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xiaoyu quickly stood up and bowed to Guan, saying, "Thank you for saving me, senior." "Why is a Ji family disciple in the demon land?" Guan asked in a hoarse voice, easily reminiscent of a weathered man in his 40s or 50s. Killing that great demon had granted him 600 years of lifespan, a tremendous bounty. Ji Xiaoyu replied, "I followed the 7 stars spirit realm for training. Does senior have any relationship with my family?" Guan appeared in front of Ji Xiaoyu out of thin air, placing a hand on her shoulder, and said, "Let's talk in another place." Before Ji Xiaoyu could respond, everything blurred before her eyes. The long-distance space shift made her uncomfortable, unable to move. A few moments later, she felt her feet touch the ground. Opening her eyes, she found herself in a cave. The space here was not large, with layered rocks, a mountain wall in front of her pouring underground water, making it very humid. Looking up, she saw numerous crystal stones hanging from the ceiling, emitting various lights that illuminated the cave. "Stay here to heal." Guan left this message before disappearing into thin air. Ji Xiaoyu stood silently. She extended her divine sense, finding the cave over 1,000 zhang beneath the surface, filled with spiritual energy, perfect for healing. Although she did not know who the person was, given the means he displayed, she understood she couldn't escape. The person seemed to have no malicious intent. Otherwise, she was now exhausted, a prime time to attack her. Ji Xiaoyu sat cross-legged, and began to cultivate energy to restore her spiritual power. On the other side, Guan returned to Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. Tian Yaoer was sulking, but seeing him with 2 bottles of fine wine, she immediately beamed with joy. Since the last time she got drunk, she had fallen in love with alcohol. Half an hour later, Tian Yaoer was drunk and lying on Guan's lap. Guan patted her back, a smile on his face. In the morning, Guan did not immediately return to the Supreme Sect nor look for Ji Xiaoyu, as she would not recover her spiritual power and injuries in just one night. He went directly south, flying toward the ocean. Utilizing the 9 extremes yin-yang body, he transformed into a shadow form, then performed the limitless freedom step to swiftly leave the Taizong dynasty and enter the ocean. The vast sea and open sky widened Guan's view, lifting his spirits. His figure constantly shifted, moving quickly above the sea of clouds. On the ocean, a large ship sailed quickly. On the deck lay a man in green robes, lying on his back with a book in his hands. Suddenly he saw something, sitting up abruptly. However, upon closer inspection, he found nothing in the sky. "That's odd. Did I see wrong?" The man in green frowned deeply. He lost interest in reading, putting his book, The Investiture of the Gods, back into his storage bag before walking to the bow of the ship, gazing into the distance. The ocean stretched endlessly, but he could already feel the breath of his homeland. He smiled, murmuring, "A demon calamity. Another opportunity for me to turn the tide in my favor. Guan took over 500 steps, finally landing on a mist-shrouded island. The island was vast, sparsely populated with living creatures, with only 6 islands within 10,000 li, perfect for his breakthrough. He quietly slipped into the forest, sitting under an old tree, and immediately activated the lifespan barrier. He pulled up his attribute panel, seeing his lifespan of 10,010,000 years, a smile forming on his face. First, upgrade his cultivation technique. Guan began using the lifespan fusion function, merging the primordial earth immortal skill with 4 basic cultivation techniques of different attributes. Due to the significant difference between these 5 techniques, forcibly merging them will not necessarily exceed the most powerful technique. Do you wish to continue? What? Did it mean the fusion would take an average? Guan cursed inwardly. Was this a way to waste his lifespan? Fortunately, he prepared other techniques. Over the years, he had killed countless enemies, searched many souls, and transcribed many techniques himself, just in case. He immediately took out 4 high-rank techniques, starting to cultivate them one by one. He did not need to abandon his original cultivation, nor did he need to cultivate other attributes of spiritual power. He only needed to run through the sorcery once, allowing the techniques to enter his attribute panel. After half an hour, Guan's attribute panel showed 4 more techniques. He intended to upgrade them one by one but received a prompt. The technique's attributes conflict. Please choose to abandon and start anew, or forcefully integrate, with a risk of deviation. Damn. Even with a golden finger similar to a system, he could still risk deviation? Guan had no choice but to enable the lifespan fusion function, merging these 5 techniques. Fusion will cost 500,000 years of lifespan. Do you want to continue? This costs 500,000 years? Guan suppressed his heartache and chose to continue. You invested 500,000 years of lifespan to merge the primordial earth immortal skill, karma fire dark sky skill, golden light spirit body art, vast earth vital energy skill, great cold heaven sorcery. Fusion successful. You comprehended 5 elements Taoist skill. Chapter 169 Breakthrough to the 9th layer of the loose immortal realm. As the prompt indicating successful fusion fell, a massive memory wildly surged into Guan's mind, plunging his consciousness deep into it. Earth spirit energy rose. The ground turned into a sea of chi, and 5-colored spiritual energy swirled around his body like a whirlwind. The spiritual energy of the entire island started to rush toward him, causing the mountains and forests to sway, and all the living creatures on the island to be startled and flee. Guan immersed himself in the cultivation memories, forgetting about the outside world. An ancient hour later, he slowly opened his eyes. Through the lifespan barrier, he saw the woods shaking violently and thunderclouds rolling in the sky, as if he had suddenly moved from morning to evening. He savored the profoundness of the 5 elements Taoist skill, his heart filled with joy. The sorcery of the 5 elements was indeed formidable. The 5 elements created heaven and earth. Although the attributes of heaven and earth were more than the 5 elements, the 5 elements were the most fundamental. The 5 elements evolved into heaven and earth earth evolved into more attributes and rules. By relying on the evolution of lifespan, Guan had already mastered the 5 elements Taoist skill. The myriad subtleties within the cultivation technique were hard to explain clearly in a short time. He reopened the attribute panel and devoted 500,000 years of lifespan into the 5 elements treasure body for evolution. One prompt after another popped up crazily before his eyes, until he saw one prompt, and a smile appeared on his face. You have comprehended the true meaning of heaven and earth for 350,000 years, and received the tempering of heaven and earth true meaning in your physical body. Your root bone has transformed and your 5 elements treasure body has advanced to the innate Taoist body. The following 150,000 years were all for enhancing the innate Taoist body, but the innate Taoist body did not advance further. As the earth spirit energy surged into Guan's body again, he decided to continue devoting his lifespan, at least to undergo another transformation in his physique. He devoted 10,000 years after another. After 370,000 years, His innate Taoist body successfully advanced to the mystic holy body. The speed at which Earth spirit energy poured into his body accelerated, plunging him into an indescribably wondrous state. At that moment, a powerful divine sense swept over the island. Nirvana realm. Guan was secretly shocked. There were indeed immortal path realms hidden overseas. The continent he was on was just a small corner of heaven and earth. Guan did not panic at all. With the lifespan barrier in place, the other party could not detect him. After 30 minutes, the divine sense disappeared. However, in the following time, divine senses kept sweeping over the sea area. The lifespan barrier began to extract spiritual energy from more distant sea areas, causing gigantic waves to rise on the sea, where sea demons tossed about. It wasn't until noon that Guan finally fully transformed into the mystic holy body, and the entire heaven and earth in his perception were renewed. Not only could he feel more elusive and touchless forces, but his physical Buddhist chi blood also greatly strengthened. With his own physical strength alone, he felt he could easily crush a Mahayana realm cultivator. He opened his eyes and saw that the lifespan barrier alone had consumed nearly 200,000 years of lifespan in the morning. Feeling the increasing number of divine senses sweeping over the sea area, Guan had to stop. Just now, he even felt a divine sense that made him frightened, indicating that the other party's realm might be the same as his or even higher. The ocean was indeed unfathomable. He feared that continuing today would attract more terrifying old monsters. He decided to change locations and continue later. Maintaining the lifespan barrier, Guan focused on the attribute panel, thinking about what to enhance next. The cultivation technique could be upgraded another level, and he could choose one divine skill or ultimate skill, as there was no need to enhance too many combat methods at one time. The many divine skills, spells, and ultimate skills he possessed were already very advanced. Each alone was rarely seen in the world. It wasn't until evening that Guan left the island, heading quickly eastward. He took 500 steps of the limitless freedom step continuously before stopping. This time, the island he stayed on was very small, with no demons, only creatures without spiritual wisdom. Guan activated the lifespan barrier, and after sitting down, pulled up the attribute panel. He devoted 200,000 years of lifespan into the 5 elements Taoist skill. However, this effort did not allow the 5 elements Taoist skill to advance, so he devoted another 200,000 years of lifespan, yet still failed. An Xian hardened his heart and devoted 300,000 years of lifespan. Finally, the 5 elements Taoist skill evolved, advancing to the heaven and earth primordial skill. Mastery realm. A total of 700,000 years of lifespan. At the same time, the heaven and earth primordial skill also awakened a divine skill called universe in the palm, which could store all things of heaven and earth in one's palm, with the amount depending on one's mana level. Guan glanced at his lifespan, over 7,700,000 years, still sufficient. Nature's spiritual energy began to rush wildly into his body, and his thoughts were occupied by inherited memories. An ancient hour later, he opened his eyes. It was already dark. Having no time to savor the heaven and earth primordial skill, his gaze turned to the attribute panel again. The primordial Rui skill must be enhanced, as it was Guan's fundamental standing, allowing high realms to be unable to spy. Another 50,000 years of lifespan. Unknowingly, Guan became bolder. One after another prompt popped up madly before his eyes, and ultimately the primordial Rui skill advanced to the All Things Form and Energy art. The All Things Form and Energy art not only enhanced the ability to conceal one's aura, but also allowed one to change their aura, consistent with all things. In other words, if Guan encountered a demon, he could manifest demon energy. Encountering a demon, he could manifest demonic chi, without being seen through. At the same time, the All Things Form and Energy art awakened a divine skill, Heaven and Earth 9 Transformations. This was a transformation divine skill, with endless marvels. Just as the Earth spirit energy dissipated, it started rushing toward Guan again. The ocean within 10,000 miles raising waves, with the scope rapidly expanding. This time, not only did divine senses sweep over the island, but also cultivators' figures flew over in the sky. Guan's presence broke the tranquility of the ocean. He couldn't care less. Another ancient hour later, Guan opened his eyes, seeing he had less than 7,200,000 years of lifespan left, suddenly feeling 1,000,000 years of lifespan wasn't that much. He couldn't enhance other divine skills, as what if it wasn't enough to break through? The higher the realm, the more lifespan consumed, especially the immortal path realm. Even without reference, Guan could guess that breaking through the realm of the immortal path was definitely not a matter of decades or centuries. He patted his face and silently began to pray. First, he devoted 1,000,000 years of lifespan into his cultivation level. Due to your reconstruction of cultivation techniques, you start from the energy cultivation realm comprehending the heaven and earth primordial skill. You cultivated chi absorption for 1 year, and your cultivation level restored to the foundation establishment realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 3 years, and your cultivation level restored to the core formation realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 5 years, and your cultivation level restored to the nascent soul realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 500 years, and your cultivation level restored to the Mahayana realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 5,000 years, and with great accomplishments in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully attacked the loose immortal realm and started tribulation crossing, but you did not endure the 5 mystical heavenly tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Tribulation crossing failed. You cultivated chi absorption for 10,000 years and with great accomplishments in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully attacked the loose immortal realm again, but did not endure the 5 mystical heavenly tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Tribulation crossing failed. Seeing that he had to reconstruct, Guan's face instantly stiffened. Fortunately, he only took 5,000 years to start attacking the second realm of the immortal path. The combination of the heaven and earth primordial skill and the mystic holy body was terrifying. One must know the lifespan evolution consumed more lifespan than real-time cultivation. Why more? Because it needed more lifespan to evolve the cultivation process and quickly transform spiritual energy into his cultivation level. This time-compressed process naturally generated additional lifespan consumption. Guan gained infinite confidence in his current skill and foundation. 5,000 years for 1 tribulation crossing? Piece of cake. Failure, failure, failure. A series of failure prompts appeared before Guan's eyes, and he remained unfazed, as he still had plenty of lifespan left. The cultivation speed had increased, but tribulation crossing was a different matter. Guan was already prepared for many failures. 1,000,000 years of lifespan was enough for him to fail 200 times. Couldn't be that unlucky, could he? As Guan watched, his face really did darken. What exactly was the 5 mystical heavenly tribulation of the heavenly Tao? Why was it so outrageous? Guan thought of the previous heavenly tribulations he had endured. He had found no relevant records in the book collection pavilion. Others faced various minor heavenly tribulations, but for him, every heavenly tribulation seemed incredibly terrifying. He suspected it had to do with his physique and cultivation technique. Enhancing physique and cultivation technique, although it could accelerate cultivation speed, also increased the difficulty of tribulation crossing. Immortal cultivation was truly defying the heavens. However, during the evolution cultivation, he purely relied on himself to cross the tribulation without any assistance from external items, so it didn't matter if he failed. As long as he could break through, no matter how much lifespan it cost, it was worth it. 1,000,000 years of lifespan successfully went down the drain. It couldn't be said that way. At least his mana transformed from the wood attribute Dharma power of the primordial earth immortal skill to the 5 elements Dharma power of the heaven and earth primordial skill. Just this alone made him several times stronger than before. As Guan consoled himself, earth spirit energy surged into his body again. This time his thoughts were not influenced, so he continued to devote lifespan for evolution cultivation. Another 1,000,000 years. Failure. 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 Guan's expression became serious, starting to visualize the scenes of tribulation crossing failure, which must be extremely dangerous. He worked hard to evolve himself. You cultivated chi absorption for 450,000 years, and with great accomplishments in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully attacked the loose immortal realm, started tribulation crossing. You endured the 5 mystical heavenly tribulation of the heavenly Tao. Tribulation crossing succeeded, and your cultivation level broke through to the first layer of the loose immortal realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 450,003,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the second layer of the loose immortal realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 500,000 years, and your cultivation level broke through to the 9th layer of the loose immortal realm. You cultivated chi absorption for 560,000 years, and with great accomplishments in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully attacked the wandering immortal realm, started tribulation crossing, but did not endure the yin-yang yellow 5 emperors tribulation. Tribulation crossing failed. The constant failures began again. However, seeing himself reach the 9th layer of the loose immortal realm, his face beamed with joy. The difficulty of cultivating the loose immortal realm was certainly higher than the nirvana realm, but the lifespan Guan spent hadn't increased. One had to know it took him 5,000 years of lifespan to go from the 7th to the 8th layer of the nirvana realm. From the 1st to the 2nd layer of the loose immortal realm, it only took 3,000 years of lifespan, clearly showing the power of the mystic holy body and the heaven and earth primordial skill. However, reaching higher realms did need more lifespan, which was normal, and Guan could accept it. When all the prompts ended, Guan still hadn't endured that damned yin-yang yellow 5 emperors tribulation. Guan looked at his remaining lifespan of 5 million years, his mood restless. Chapter 170. 9 Layers of Wandering Immortal. Roaming the heavens and earth. It took Guan a full 4 hours to advance from the 9th layer of the nirvana realm to the 9th layer of the loose immortal realm. Upon reaching the loose immortal realm, his mana doubled, and he felt a significant release from many restrictions. These restrictions were the bonds that heaven placed on all beings. For instance, he could now soar without using mana, dive into the sea effortlessly, and even transform his physical body into his primordial spirit, allowing him to pass through all innate barriers in the world without impediment. It was simply indescribable. When his cultivation reached the 8th layer of the loose immortal realm, Guan felt the entire ocean erupt into chaos. In the distance, he even saw great cultivators of the nirvana realm engaging in combat, making him feel secretly ashamed. The experiences of the past 2 days made him realize the vastness of heaven and earth, and that too many powerful auras passed through this region. Lu Lingjun had not made a mistake in ascending to the spirit realm. In a certain sense, this realm was equivalent to the spirit realm or the immortal realm, and was a world beyond mortal comprehension. Considering Gu An's past life on Earth, this place was unlikely to be as large as the Taitsong dynasty. Guan recalled Lu Lingjun and the White Spirit Demon Emperor's names for this land. The Great Heavenly Spirit Land. Just how vast was this so-called Great Heaven and Earth? Guan couldn't help but look up at the sky. Speaking of which, he had never explored how high the sky was. In the Nirvana realm, he had used his divine sense to probe continuously upward, with terrifying results. His divine sense couldn't surpass the sky's apex. The heavens in the Great Heavenly Spirit Land seemed infinitely high, shocking him severely, given the cosmological concepts he had built in his previous life. And now, in the loose immortal realm, Guan could faintly sense a mysterious force in the sky, a power that even loose immortals dared not rashly contact. It wasn't a living being's aura, but more like the majesty of heaven. Guan took a deep breath and lowered his gaze back to his attribute panel, his eyes growing firm. Since the commotion had already been significant enough, he decided to keep enhancing his cultivation level. 1,000,000 years of lifespan, invest. A barrage of prompts appeared. Failure. 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 Guan remained optimistic. 5,000,000 years of lifespan. Can't I break the Yin-Yang Xianhuang 5 Emperors tribulation? I don't believe it. Just as this thought arose, his entire 1,000,000-year investment in lifespan failed to pass the tribulation. His expression unchanged, he invested another 1,000,000 years. He continued to fail repeatedly. He reminded himself that he was already a great cultivator at the 9th layer of the loose immortal realm, with a stable Taoist heart. Do not be elated by external success, nor sad by personal failure. A 3rd-million-year lifespan. Invest. A few moments later he couldn't help but utter a single word. Crap. The demeanor nurtured through 91 years of cultivation in the immortal cultivation world finally broke, awakening a native expletive from the depths of his soul. Guan dared not invest another 1,000,000 years and opted for 500,000 years instead. Heavens bless me. Wait, he was defying heaven, so he sought the blessing of his master, Cheng Xiandan. Failure once more filled his vision. When a prompt with significantly longer text appeared, his heart filled with joy. Here it comes. After 35,000 years of chi absorption cultivation, using the great accomplishment in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully impacted the traveling immortal realm, began to cross the tribulation, passed through the Yin Yang Xianhuang 5 Emperors tribulation, successfully crossing the tribulation, and your cultivation level rose to the 1st layer of the traveling immortal realm. After 35,500 years of chi absorption cultivation, your cultivation level rose to the 2nd layer of the traveling immortal realm. After 36,000 years of chi absorption cultivation, your cultivation level rose to the 3rd layer of the traveling immortal realm. After 44,000 years of chi absorption cultivation, your cultivation level rose to the 9th layer of the traveling immortal realm. After 46,000 years of chi absorption cultivation, using the great accomplishment in the heaven and earth primordial skill, you forcefully impacted the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, began to cross the tribulation, but failed to survive the heaven and earth divine intent heavenly tribulation. The subsequent 4,000 years were filled with failures, with a tribulation every 2,000 years. Phew, the 9th layer of the traveling immortal realm. Exciting. The earth spirit energy surged upwards, and the sound of the earth groaned like a dragon's roar echoing in his ears, making him feel incredibly joyous. Heaven does not disappoint those who persist against life's odds. The heaven and earth flying immortal realm. Can one fly out of this sky? Guan pondered this with infinite anticipation in his heart. Now he only had 1,600,000 years of life left. He couldn't dare to continue crossing tribulations. If he got carried away and drained his entire lifespan, resulting in sudden death, it would be too sorry for his current life. The 9th layer of the traveling immortal realm should be enough, right? Currently on the mainland's surface, there were no Nirvana realm experts. They might exist in the Demon Land or the 7-star spirit realm, but they were hidden. The 7-star spirit realm might have loose immortals, but could they defeat a traveling immortal like him? If such an old monster existed, Guan could wait for decades until the 1,000,000-year function activated, then he could boost up again. He didn't believe the 7-star spirit realm could defeat him with his cheats. No, I didn't really cheat. My cultivation level was achieved through my own efforts. Guan comforted himself. The earth spirit energy poured into him far faster than before, and the lifespan barrier drew spiritual energy from a wide range, making Guan feel powerful auras from all directions. Loose immortal realm auras had already appeared. Would traveling immortal realm auras appear next? Guan felt secretly nervous. Having just reached this realm, he didn't want to confront anyone of the same level. As time went on, Guan continually impacted the traveling immortal realm, and the mysteries of this realm gradually surfaced in his mind. Traveling immortal, an immortal roaming heaven and earth. From the 9th heaven to the depths of the earth, the primordial spirit and physical body merged, freely coming and going through heaven and earth. The primordial spirit was no longer fragile, possessing even greater power than the physical body. Reaching this realm, the power of the soul surpassed mana for the first time, and naturally his mana also transformed. The 9 heavens of the immortal path, the higher one ascended, the greater the gap of each layer. While Guan was immersed in his breakthrough, a colossal wave rolled up from the west, 1,000 feet high, shocking him to turn and look. With a thunderous crash, the island where Guan resided was submerged by the wave, and before the island could re-emerge, the surrounding waters started churning violently. Guan distinctly felt something hit the island, causing the mountain at the island's base to break, and he fell with it. The lifespan barrier's advantages were fully revealed. Though the barrier fell, he remained seated as if on the ground, without any jolts, and the earth spirit energy continued to flow into him. He looked up through the surging seawater, and saw a colossal creature seemingly as vast as a mountain range moving through the sea, its presence awe-inspiring. Deep-sea ancient whale, Nirvana Realm 8th Layer 87808/15000/1800000, an 80,000-year-old sea demon. No wonder they said the ocean was more treacherous than the demon land. Guan noticed other sea demons of various realms, finding them quite novel. Soon, his breakthrough approached a critical juncture, forcing him to close his eyes and focus entirely on understanding the traveling immortal realm's true essence. Time passed quickly. When Guan opened his eyes, he had already reached the first layer of the traveling immortal realm, discovering himself at the sea floor. It was pitch black, surrounded by numerous mountains and countless sea demons, nary a living being without demon energy. Being in such an environment was inevitably frightening. Fortunately, Guan sensed no aura of the traveling immortal realm. If a traveling immortal showed up, he would have to go all out next. From the first to the 9th layer of the traveling immortal realm required even more vast spiritual energy. The lifespan barrier continually drew earth spirit energy, causing even the sea floor to tremble slightly. An hour later, Guan sensed intense activity in the distance, as if an underwater volcano erupted. Amidst the scorching seawater, an aura from the loose immortal realm emerged, chaotic and agitated. He vaguely heard a shout. "Ha ha ha, the Taoist has finally broken free. 7 stars spirit realm, just you wait." Upon hearing this, Guan was secretly delighted. Could it be that he rescued an enemy of the 7 stars spirit realm? He now regarded the 7 stars spirit realm as his imaginary foe. If more enemies of the 7 stars spirit realm appeared, he would naturally be pleased. Even with the cultivation of the 9th layer of the traveling immortal realm, Guan had no plans of single-handedly challenging the 7 stars spirit realm. At least there needed to be someone openly sharing the burden of attention. He could venture into the 7 stars spirit realm and deal with the strongest enemies, but couldn't let everyone think he alone took it down. The 7 stars spirit realm had existed for so many years. Who knew what connections it had across the ocean? The ocean was not short of immortal path life forms. Resolving this calamity surely meant another was on the horizon. Life was always filled with difficulties. If Guan could slow down each phase, it would be beneficial for him. Guan contemplated no further. As long as no one disturbed him, he could find peace even at the sea floor. He pulled up his attribute panel. The lifespan barrier rapidly consumed his lifespan. He had about 1,500,000 years left. After some thought, he decided to enhance his swordsmanship. He had hesitated to do so before, fearing an insufficient lifespan, but now, with a remaining lifespan, he could proceed. He previously hesitated to upgrade the wood spirit sword technique. Now possessing the 5 elements skill, there was no need to upgrade the wood spirit sword technique. He continued to enhance the Taitsong divine shocking sword. This was the signature sword technique of Sword Venerable Fudao. More and more people recognized the Taitsong divine shocking sword, which wasn't a good thing. He had to create a sword technique unheard of by the world. Let's start with a test of 200,000 years. Guan invested his lifespan into evolving and practicing the Taitsong divine shocking sword, and a series of prompts appeared. 8,000 years later, the Taitsong divine shocking sword was elevated to the vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword. The remaining 12,000 years were used to bring the vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword technique to the peak creation realm. Vast memories then flooded Guan's mind. The vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword used the stars to evoke sword intent, capable of suppressing heaven and earth. Its sword chi boundless and immense, already containing the mysteries of great divine power. Half an hour later, Guan opened his eyes, brimming with determination. What a domineering vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword. With this sword unleashed, all sword cultivators under heaven would likely bow in submission, not daring to imagine surpassing his sword Tao. Guan was already fantasizing about the influence this sword technique's display would have. However, it couldn't be used recklessly. It had to be unveiled at a crucial moment. He smiled. The ninth layer of the traveling immortal realm, mastering the heaven and earth primordial skill, and the vast star-suppressing heaven-boundless sword, possessing the mystic holy body. How could a demon emperor withstand a few of his moves? Could the demon ancestor about to be resurrected threaten him? Sorry, junior sister, but your senior brother is unwilling to see you cast away on a deserted island. Guan slowly stood up and closed the lifespan barrier. With one step, he emerged from the sea and arrived tens of thousands of miles high in the sky. In an instant, his divine sense captured the aura of Xiaochuan in the Supreme Sect's Third Medicine Valley. This overwhelming feeling of power gave Guan tremendous joy. With one stride, he arrived above the Supreme Sect. The distance traveled in that single step was immeasurable. Chapter 171. Named Holy Land, actually Demon Cave. The Supreme Sect under the night sky was serene and peaceful. Guan's divine sense encompassed the entire Supreme Sect. He saw the hidden spaces seemingly exposed before his eyes, each cave residence laid bare. There were even small realms similar to the manifest Holy Cave, though those small realms were far less extensive than the Starmaster Cave. The Supreme Sect had 4 mystic heart realm cultivators, Ancestor Xianquan, Lu Lingjun, and 2 supreme elders whom Guan had never seen before. One was a woman whose presence he had sensed in the inner sect's book collection hall. One had to admit, the foundation of the Supreme Sect was strong. Guan noticed LV Baitian practicing energy in his cave, seemingly still striving to break through to the mystic heart realm. LV Baitian treated Guan well. Guan started to consider secretly assisting him during his next tribulation crossing. Then, Guan returned to the Mystic Valley. He stepped into the pavilion, sat on a chair, and stretched lazily. Home was always the most comfortable. Guan closed his eyes and began to savor the experiences of the past 2 days. The mysteries of the wandering immortal realm, the vastness of the heaven and earth primordial skill, and the wonders of the mystic holy body. Too many things were worthy of reflection and appreciation. Until morning came, Guan went downstairs to lead his disciples in exercises, then returned to his room. The disciples did not notice Guan's changes because the gap in cultivation levels was too vast. The disturbances in the ocean did not reach the continent, and over the next 3 days, Guan did not sense the divine senses of nirvana or loose immortals sweeping across the continent, which put him at ease. After 3 days, he continued harvesting medicinal herbs. His lifespan was just over 1.4 million years, with the lifespan barrier alone consuming hundreds of thousands of years. For the next lifespan function activation, he would need to accumulate 100 million years of lifespan. The mere thought made Guan's scalp tingle. 100 million years of lifespan was no easy task, certainly not the work of 2 or 3 decades. At his current rate of 200,000 years of lifespan income per year, it would take about 5 centuries. He had to strive harder to increase his annual lifespan income. In the morning, he went to the Third Medicine Valley. In the afternoon, he visited Tianya Valley. By evening, he headed to the Demon Land to meet Ji Xiaoyu. In the underground cave, the black-clad Ji Xiaoyu was still seated in meditation, cultivating energy. Her spiritual power had recovered by 30%, and she had consumed quite a number of spirit energy elixirs during this period. Guan appeared out of thin air 10 steps away. Ji Xiaoyu did not detect his presence. After watching quietly for a while, Guan finally spoke up. There is a powerful force within you. After depleting your spiritual power, this force has actually enhanced your cultivation level. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu quickly opened her eyes, then stood up and faced him with a clasped fist in courtesy. I have ties with the Ji family and wish to teach you a divine skill. Would you like to learn? Guan asked calmly. He intended to impart the Taoist Gang primal energy to Ji Xiaoyu. The Taoist Gang primal energy, transformed from Heaven and Earth Path Gang, was stolen from Ji Xiaoyu by Jiang Qiong. By returning it to Ji Xiaoyu, Guan repaid the debt of her past rescue. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu asked, May I ask, Senior, what divine skill is it? The Taoist Gang primal energy. Have you heard of it? The Taoist gang primal energy? Ji Xiaoyu was moved, her eyes showing a mix of surprise and doubt. Guan said softly, "It seems you have heard of it." Through her mask, Ji Xiaoyu could not discern his true appearance. She suppressed her inner shock and asked with furrowed brows, "May I ask, Senior, who exactly are you?" The Taoist gang primal energy is an ultimate skill of the Ji family that has been lost. There is no related transmission within the family, and to master the Taoist gang primal energy, one must first cultivate the Heaven and Earth Dominator body. To achieve the Heaven and Earth Dominator body is enough to be included in the main family's lineage. Guan replied, "There is no need for you to know my identity. You only need to answer whether you want to learn." "Then please, Senior, teach me." Ji Xiaoyu replied without hesitation. Guan waved his sleeve, and a gust of wind blew towards Ji Xiaoyu. She had no time to dodge and was immobilized. In her pupils, a figure continuously changed stances. While Ji Xiaoyu was entranced, Guan observed her, equally curious. Besides the primordial Taoist talisman, Guan sensed she had other secrets. She possessed an indescribable composure. Even facing Guan, she did not lose her poise. Guan recalled the first time he saw Ji Xiaoyu in his youth. She was different from her peers even at a few years of age. At that time, he even guessed she might have been possessed by someone, with an old soul inside her body. An hour later, Ji Xiaoyu's eyes became clear. She took a deep breath and turned to look at Guan, who was standing not far away by the mountain wall. She said, "Thank you, Senior, for your guidance. How can I repay you?" She was sure the Taoist gang primal energy she just acquired was genuine. The Taoist gang primal energy shared many similarities with her Heaven and Earth Path gang. She could even see the signs of the Heaven and Earth Path gang evolving into Taoist gang primal energy. This person's Tao level surely exceeded her imagination. He might even be the strongest person she had ever encountered in her life. "I do not need your repayment. I am only considering your surname, Ji. Tell me, what are your impressions of the 7-star spirit realm?" Guan replied casually. In fact, in his heart, Ji Xiaoyu was more important than the Ji family. Although the Ji family raised him years ago, they intended to cut off his hand. It was Ji Xiaoyu who spoke up to save him. His acceptance into the supreme sect was also Ji Xiaoyu's idea, unrelated to the Ji family. Over the years, the medicinal herbs Guan had contributed were enough to repay the Ji family. This time, rescuing Ji Xiaoyu was also repaying her past kindness. At least in Guan's mind, he and the Ji family, including Ji Xiaoyu, were even in grace. The Ji family was about to leave the supreme sect. To Guan, it meant that the Ji family would have no relation to him in the future, becoming strangers. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Guan and calmly said, "A place named Holy Land, but in reality, a demon cave." Guan was surprised. He did not expect Ji Xiaoyu to recognize this. Ji Xiaoyu continued, "It seems Senior also has a different view of the 7-star spirit realm. Otherwise, you would not have asked me. Perhaps we can stand on the same side." "Oh, why should we stand on the same side?" Guan's tone was intriguing. Ji Xiaoyu frankly said, "I want to overthrow the 7-star spirit realm. My power alone is too weak. I hope Senior can assist me." Guan inquired, "Reason?" "It has nothing to do with the sake of the people. The Ji family wants to marry me off to a disciple of the 7-star spirit realm. For the sake of blood relations, I cannot oppose the Ji family, so I intend to eliminate the 7-star spirit realm." Ji Xiaoyu's expression remained calm. "Though I was born in the Ji family, I will not choose to sacrifice myself for the family. Between me and the family, I will always choose myself. If Senior harbors animosity towards the 7-star spirit realm, then we can join forces. I will gather as much information about the 7-star spirit realm as possible." Listening to her, Guan could sense the coldness emanating from her bones, causing him to reassess her. In Guan's impression, Ji Xiaoyu had been merely calm and composed. Only this time did he truly understand who Ji Xiaoyu was. Although her words seemed selfish, Guan did not dislike her for it. A person must prioritize themselves, and Ji Xiaoyu had not harmed her clansmen. The 7-star spirit realm was indeed not a decent entity. Guan said, "All right. Ji Xiaoyu immediately raised her hand in salute to Guan. Do you know that the root cause of the demon calamity comes from the 7 stars spirit realm? Guan suddenly asked. Upon hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu frowned and said, I only know some of the evil deeds the 7 stars spirit realm has done. I guess there might be a connection, but I don't know the specific reasons. Guan then told her what he had learned. As she listened, Ji Xiaoyu's brows furrowed more and more tightly. After he finished speaking, Ji Xiaoyu coldly said, If what you say is true, then destroying the 7 stars spirit realm could indeed save the populace. The 7 stars spirit realm is deeply rooted and strong. To destroy them is extremely difficult. For now you should lie low. Once humanity prevails over the demon calamity, then make plans against the 7 stars spirit realm. Guan replied. Ji Xiaoyu nodded. Then Guan waved his sleeve, taking her to the edge of the great Jiang dynasty. In the land of 5 dynasties, there must be a transmission array leading to the 7 stars spirit realm. Delivering her here made Ji Xiaoyu safer. Before Ji Xiaoyu could speak, Guan disappeared from the spot. Ji Xiaoyu spread her divine sense, and soon caught sight of cultivators. Her expression grew complex. To cross such a vast distance in such a short time. Who exactly is he? As autumn ended, winter snow finally arrived. After parting with Ji Xiaoyu, Guan returned to his usual farming life. Even though he had reached the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, he did not act recklessly. However, the changes brought by wandering immortal could not be completely hidden, so he began to elevate his apparent cultivation level. He planned to pretend to reside in the core formation realm using elixirs. In the future, he could slowly improve his cultivation, creating the image of someone dependent on elixirs. This would make others think him lucky and not strong. Guan aimed to be perceived as harmless to the Supreme Sect and other factions, making everyone believe there was no point in killing him, nor any harm in keeping him alive. This day, in the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan was playing chess with Lu Lingjun. Snow drifted down but could not cover their bodies or the chessboard. Guan placed a piece and smiled. You've lost again. Lu Lingjun frowned, puzzled. She had calculated countless scenarios. How did she still lose? It didn't make sense, she thought. She was in the mystic heart realm. Unable to restrain herself, she asked, Why can't I beat you? You're too hasty. Being hasty leads to flaws. Guan replied. Chess was something he brought to this world. How could he lose? He had to defend the dignity of Huaxia people. Lu Lingjun couldn't help but ponder. At that moment, a figure flew over. Elder Guzong's son Guyu. He quickly landed beside Guan, excitedly saying, Guan, the true inheritor disciple has returned. He's planning to lecture in the inner sect after the new year. You have to listen. They say he's now in the Mahayana realm. Hearing this, Lu Lingjun grew interested too. For mystic heart realm cultivators, the most intriguing subject was how to reach the Mahayana realm. Guan couldn't help but ask, Really? What is the true inheritor disciple's name? Yesterday, he had sensed a Mahayana realm cultivator enter the Supreme Sect. As elders had personally received the person, he hadn't paid much attention. Of course it's true. His name is Xiantiani. With a Mahayana cultivator like him, we'll have a better chance against the demon calamity. He said if had come back earlier, dealing with the 6-headed sea dragon, another Mahayana cultivator, would have taken just a single move. Guyu said excitedly, his face full of admiration. Chapter 172. Regret having met too late. Journey to the west. Guyu's arrival interrupted the chess game between Guan and Lu Lingjun. Lu Lingjun was also interested in Xiantiani, so she asked Guyu a few questions. After chatting for a while, Guyu finally left. Guan noticed Lu Lingjun's drifting thoughts and knew she was thinking about Xiantiani. He stood up and turned to leave. Lu Lingjun suddenly said, After the new year, you should go listen to the teachings too. It's a rare opportunity, as great cultivators are not often seen. Guan turned back to look at her, seeing her face full of longing. He chuckled lightly without saying more. The influence of a Mahayana realm cultivator's teachings was immense. As winter approached, More and more disciples returned, and cultivators from other sects also came. Xiantiani's name spread throughout the immortal cultivation world, and his cultivation achievements were revealed and widely circulated. Supreme Sect's strongest genius since ancient times. Core formation at 20, nascent soul formation at 42, divinity transformation at 70, void crossing at 100, and unification at 200. Due to his extraordinary talent, Supreme Sect hit his true age before he reached the unification realm. When he attained the 9th layer of the unification realm, he went south to seek immortal fate directly. This made Supreme Sect even more cautious about mentioning his talent, fearing great calamity. He searched overseas for immortals for 300 years, and upon his return, he had already reached the Mahayana realm. With Supreme Sect's grand promotion of Xiantiani's legendary life, his name shook the world in a short time, overshadowing the 9 cultivators. The vast majority of cultivators found his achievements unbelievable, even thinking Supreme Sect was exaggerating. Guan heard about Xiantiani's deeds in the Outer Gate City, and also thought it exaggerated. But on second thought, it made sense. No wonder someone in the sect said as long as the true inheritor wanted the sect leader position, LV Batian would have to step down within a day. In the face of such talent, no matter how great LV Batian's contributions were, he had to concede. Although Xiantiani's growth trajectory defied the understanding of ordinary cultivators, his return indeed boosted Supreme Sect's morale. Even before the new year, the Outer Gate City already had a festive atmosphere. Amidst the vast winter snow, Guan arrived at the 3rd Medicine Valley from Mystic Valley. As soon as he arrived, he sensed 2 auras, one of which was unmistakably at the Mahayana realm. Xiantiani was here. Guan's expression remained calm as he walked towards his loft. Upon pushing open the door and entering the room, he saw 2 people inside. The vice sect leader Jihantian and a man in green robes. Xiantiani, dressed in green robes, looked youthful, making it hard to imagine he was a Mahayana cultivator, more like a young disciple. Guan, you finally arrived. Close the door and sit down for a chat, Jihantian said with a smile, as if he were the master of the loft. Guan didn't mind. After closing the door, he came forward and cupped his hands in respect. Before Jihantian could introduce him, Xiantiani spoke first. You are Panin? Xiantiani, Mahayana Realm, 6th layer 598/4800/5000. Seeing Xiantiani's lifespan, Guan was secretly astonished. 5,000 years, the extreme lifespan cultivation reached so quickly? Looking at it this way, Xiantiani would surely undergo nirvana within 4,500 years. By then, breaking the heavenly destiny would achieve another extreme lifespan. Based on Guan's experience, Xiantiani's spirit root qualification should be equivalent to the 5,000-year extreme lifespan level. At least his physical qualifications weren't as good as Ji Xiaoyu or An Hao, but his comprehension must have been astonishing, combined with extraordinary opportunities to achieve his current state. Guan pretended to hesitate and looked towards Jihantian. Jihantian smiled. Speak truthfully, this is our sect's true inheritor, Xiantiani. He is not an outsider. He is Supreme Sect's most prized disciple. Ignoring the compliment, Xiantiani continued to curiously observe Guan, his eyes bright. Guan immediately responded. Indeed, I have a pen name called Panin. Xiantiani smiled, saying, Your investiture of the gods is very good. Someone gave it to me earlier, and I enjoyed it very much. I even had it mass-produced and spread overseas. Your book is widely popular on the seas, much more so than my own writings. Thank you for your appreciation, Senior. May I ask what book you wrote? Guan cupped his hands in thanks and inquired. Xiantiani coughed lightly and said, I just wrote something casually. It doesn't compare to Investiture of the Gods. His book is not worth mentioning. Jihantian shook his head with a smile. This made Guan even more curious about what Xiantiani had written. However, Xiantiani didn't want to talk about it, and instead started discussing Investiture of the Gods. Facing his inquiries, Guan had to answer each one, and Jihantian didn't interrupt anymore. He got up and left, closing the door behind him. Xiantiani didn't have the pride typical of a Mahayana cultivator. When he talked about some of the plots in Investiture of the Gods, he became indignant, especially over the story of Neza cutting his bones to return to his father and flesh to his mother, which greatly angered him. Guin couldn't remember Investiture of the Gods word for word, so he expanded many stories in the book, like Neza cutting his flesh to return to his parents and Yongjian rescuing his mother at Peach Mountain, making the characters more three-dimensional. This was also why Investiture of the Gods became so popular. Xian Tianyi was very curious about how Guin wrote such an extraordinary book. Guin replied that he met an immortal in his dreams who touched his forehead, suddenly enlightening him. It was sudden because he could never write another divine work like Investiture of the Gods afterwards. Your Supreme Immortal Venerable and Shattering Void are also good, but I still think they fall short of Investiture of the Gods, Xian Tianyi said with lingering interest. Guin didn't argue, but asked what book he had written. Xian Tianyi suddenly looked embarrassed and mumbled. Guin seized the opportunity, constantly asking questions, and finally, Xian Tianyi revealed the book's title. What? Green Hero Travel is your work? Guin exclaimed, slapping the table in excitement. Whether it was Xian Tianyi's illusion or not, he felt an inexplicable panic for a moment, unsure if he was scared by Guin or had a guilty conscience. He nodded reluctantly. Guin raised his hand and took out a copy of Green Hero Travel from his storage bag, which made Xian Tianyi emotional upon seeing it. I love Green Hero Travel. I've read every copy at least 100 times. Guin went on and on about his love for Green Hero Travel. Xian Tianyi listened, feeling unprecedentedly moved in his heart. Finally, someone appreciated his talent. He immediately felt as if they had met too late. On the way back, lying on the deck, each time he read Investiture of the Gods, he felt more of a connection with Pan'an. This feeling of anticipation even surpassed the thrill of returning to save the sect. Sure enough, Pan'an was the soulmate he had been seeking all his life. The more Xian Tianyi thought about it, the more excited he became. He suddenly stood up, grabbed Guin's shoulders with both hands, and said, Pan'an no Guin, let's become sworn brothers. From now on, I'll be your elder brother. Guin was stunned. What kind of logic was this? Wasn't the pace too fast? Seeing his hesitation, Xian Tianyi said boldly, Brother, I tell you, with my cultivation level on this continent, I am undoubtedly invincible. Swear brotherhood with me, and no one will dare to bully you anymore. I heard that LV Baitian wants to take you as a disciple? Don't listen to him. His defying fate divine skill is dubious and sinister. I can teach you my divine skill. With our brotherhood, I won't say I'll help you defy heaven and change fate, but leading you to the unification realm won't be difficult. Initially, Guin wanted to refuse, thinking it absurd to become a younger brother to him, a wandering immortal. But Xian Tianyi's latter words tempted him. He was worried about how to live for 1,000 years in the future. Normally, once he reached the divinity transformation realm, people wouldn't consider him ordinary anymore. Now if he reached the unification realm with Xian Tianyi's help, people would at most admire him and not see him as a threat. However, Guin decided to put on an act. So he pretended to decline. Xian Tianyi didn't give up, and after several attempts, Xian Tianyi got angry, forcing him to agree. Since brother appreciates me, I'll call you Brother Xian from now on, Guin said helplessly. Xian Tianyi smiled broadly, taking out a jade scroll. Hey, race my cultivation technique. Take it and practice. After the new year, I'll send a batch of cultivation resources to you. This isn't good, right? Guin said, holding the jade scroll with embarrassment. Xian Tianyi glared. If you feel bad, then write a second Investiture of the Gods. Stop writing Shattering Void. It's too absurd and tasteless. Guin, holding on to the advantage, could only laugh. Alright, I'll definitely write it. Oh, do you already have a plan? It's called Journey to the West. I'll tell you in advance. Journey to the West? It doesn't sound as good as Investiture of the Gods. You should think it over again. Haha, you don't understand. You'll know when the time comes. Xian Tianyi didn't continue to criticize Journey to the West. Instead, he started talking about another book and took out a book. The inspiration for Green Hero Travel came from this. Xian said mysteriously, raising the book in his hand. Guan looked down, his eyelids twitching. He then took out a book from his storage bag. Xian was dumbfounded upon seeing it. How do you also have Taoist Xuanchuan? Xian asked, his eyes wide with excitement. Elder Su Lu from the book collection hall gave it to me. So you're the descendant who keeps asking for Taoist Xuanchuan. Ha ha ha. We truly have a fated connection. I had someone bring this book back for him. Xian was overjoyed, pulling Guan to start discussing Taoist Xuanchuan. Their conversation lasted until dusk without ending. During this time, Ji Hantian knocked on the door but was driven away by Xian. Only at dawn did Guan escort him down the stairs. Watching Xian departing figure, Guan's face was full of smiles. After chatting all night, he didn't feel tired. Both felt as if they hadn't had enough. Had Xian not had other important matters today, they could have continued talking. Lu Lingjun suddenly walked over and asked, "Is he the true inheritor?" Guan nodded. Lu Lingjun examined him with a peculiar look in her eyes, asking, "You spent a day and night together, you didn't." "Didn't what?" "It's rumored that some great cultivators, after experiencing mortal pleasures, seek new interests to fill the void in their hearts, like homosexuality." Lu Lingjun trailed off, but Guan already understood. Guan rolled his eyes and snorted. "Oh, you guessed it? Then don't ever think of me as your Taoist friend." Lu Lingjun, seeing his expression, pursed her lips and smiled. "Looks like I overthought." Chapter 173. Heavenly Tao Trap. Difference between immortal and mortal. The new year had arrived, and the atmosphere this spring festival was even more lively than in previous years. With the addition of Gu Zong and Xian, the third Medicine Valley was buzzing with excitement. It was rumored that the true inheritor had sworn brotherhood with the Valley Master, which thrilled the 400 servant disciples, all worshipping Guan with adulation. Xian always wanted to chat with him about Taoist Xuanchuan, which made him quite distressed. It wasn't until dusk that Guan found an excuse to leave and return to the Mystic Valley to spend the festival with his junior sister and disciples. The disciples sat around the table, toasting and exchanging cups, rejoicing in the celebration. Yi Lan and Zhen Qin began recounting matters of the immortal cultivation world once again. The number of demons in the land of the 5 dynasties had not decreased due to the actions of various sects, but had in fact increased. Moreover, demon cultivators and evil people were also on the rise. Many believed that the human race was doomed and thought it better to indulge before dying, or to seize treasures through murder and then sail south. In short, both the immortal cultivation world and the common folk were in chaos. As long as the demon calamity was unresolved, the world would remain in turmoil. Zhen Qin had once complained why the mountain god did not take action, but Guan, pretending he wasn't the mountain god, remained silent. Didn't the mountain god say, why should he protect the human race? If demons worship him, why can't he support them? The strength of a race ultimately depends on itself, not the favor of immortals. Yi Lan remarked nonchalantly. Having been in the law enforcement hall for so long, she had seen too many sins, giving her deep life experiences. The more evil she had witnessed, the more she cherished Guan, Zhen Qin, and Xiaochuan. Many cultivators ended up lonely at the end of their paths. Having companions in life was a blessing. Guan listened quietly, occasionally chiming in. No matter how chaotic the world became, he had no intention of taking it upon himself to save it. However, he would still occasionally descend from the mountain to relieve suffering, aiding some fated beings without upsetting the grand scheme of things. After all, he was still unsure of the strength of the 7-star spirit realm. Even if he knew he couldn't protect the continent alone, doing so would mean that all future calamities befalling the continent would fall on his shoulders, and any enemies targeting the continent would first come after him. The mere thought gave him a headache. Zhen Qin mentioned Su Han again, saying that Su Han had followed the 9 Nether 13 evil to Tianwei. Recently, Su Han had just absorbed the spiritual power of a divinity transformation realm cultivator, causing a stir in the immortal cultivation world. The Supreme Sect had also dispatched great cultivators to kill Su Han. but ended up being severely injured by the 9 Nether 13 evil. Guan thought that the person being merely injured might have been due to the 9 Nether 13 evil, considering the face of Sword Venerable Fudao. The world situation was changing, and Guan only wanted to watch from the sidelines. His target was the Demon Emperor and the Demon Ancestor. Once the Demon Calamity erupted and the world plunged into chaos, he would seize the opportunity to eliminate the Demon Emperor and the Demon Ancestor, eradicating the greatest scourge of the calamity. The remaining demons would serve as grindstones for the world's cultivators. The conversation lasted deep into the night, and Yilan and Zhenqin decided to stay in the Mystic Valley and leave the next day. Yilan even came to his pavilion to confide in him. As they chatted, Yilan suddenly blew out the candle in the room. "Junior sister, what are you doing?" "Senior brother, I fear the calamity may strike at any time and do not wish to have regrets before I die." "You again?" "Senior brother, though I may not be your Taoist friend, let us cherish the feelings we have now. What say you?" "Junior sister, we should not be like this." "Senior brother, I really like you." "Stop it." "Senior brother, don't make me use force." Bang, bang, bang. Sounds of physical confrontation echoed inside the room. Come morning, Guan and Yilan came downstairs, Guan walking ahead with a smug expression. Yilan, rubbing her wrist, looked at him with a resentful gaze. They had fought last night. Yilan had tried to use force, but surprisingly could not overpower Guan. In the end, she was unsuccessful and inevitably felt disappointed. Yet thinking of how Guan had restrained her, a smile tugged at her lips. So senior brother likes this sort of thing. Yilan began to understand Guan a little more. She quietly rubbed her backside, counting how many times senior brother had struck her last night. After finishing her morning exercises, Yilan and Zhenqin left. Guan then sneaked into the 8 scenic caves. As he approached the green vine tree, Jiang Qiong, with her eyes closed, said, "Last night was the spring festival, wasn't it? It was really lively." "Yes, I brought you some pastries made by the disciples." Guan responded, squatting down and taking out the pastries and wine. Jiang Qiong opened her eyes and looked at him. "Do you like your junior sister Yi?" she asked. Guan replied, "To say I don't like her at all would be a lie, but I feel I cannot accept her now. It would delay our cultivation." "Oh, and why do you think it would cause a delay?" Jiang Qiong asked, intrigued. "Once someone is in your heart, you can't help but think of them. If the relationship is confirmed, feelings turn into responsibility, and you'll consider that person in everything you do. This inevitably affects your cultivation. I'm not afraid of being affected myself, but I hope she can cultivate peacefully without my influence," Guan said earnestly. He spoke from the bottom of his heart. Yilan had poor aptitude and now needed to find a way to cultivate the primordial reincarnation skill to change her extreme lifespan. Guan could choose to accompany her for the last 100 years of her life, but he didn't want her to have only 100 years now. If love lasts forever, why not cherish every moment together? Guan raised his wine cup, offering it to Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong looked into his clear eyes, feeling as if she was seeing him for the first time. This boy still had a romantic heart. Jiang Qiong asked, "How do you know you'll definitely live longer than her? What if you die first, and her years of painstaking cultivation lead to a regretful second half of her life? What then?" Guan smiled proudly. "To be honest, I now possess 2 slices of the Medicine Valley, with an endless supply of medicinal herbs. Even if I don't cultivate much, living a few hundred years just by relying on elixirs isn't hard." "A few hundred years?" Jiang Qiong found it amusing. This boy's perspective was really narrow. But for some reason, the thought of Guan passing away in a few hundred years while she continued to pursue the elusive immortal path made her inexplicably uneasy. "Come on, drink. Not drunk, no return," Jiang Qiong suddenly said with a stern face. Guan immediately raised his cup. An hour later, when Jiang Qiong still wanted to drink more, Guan saw things were going awry and found an excuse to leave. But Jiang Qiong pulled him back. Jiang Qiong began forcefully making him drink. To hide his cultivation level, he had to pretend to be weak against alcohol. This was spiritual wine. If a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator drank too much, they would definitely get drunk. Eventually, he had to pretend to be drunk, lying on the ground. Jiang Qiong sat on the ground, looking at Guan, letting out a breath of relief. This boy is clearly a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. How can he drink so much? Jiang Qiong thought to herself with a flushed face. She almost couldn't outdrink Guan. If word got out that a nascent soul realm cultivator couldn't outdrink a Foundation Establishment realm one, it would be a huge joke. She just sat there watching Guan, her thoughts wandering. Feeling the time pass, Guan began calculating in his mind. 3 hours later, he got up to leave, having already been drunk once. If Jiang Qiong tried to stop him again, he wouldn't hesitate to flip out. After a long while, Jiang Qiong suddenly squatted in front of Guan, raising her hand to brush the hair from his face. Guan's heart pounded with tension. Wait a minute. This old demon cultivator wouldn't be greedy for my flesh, would she? Guan felt absurd. Why did so many women like him? Was it simply because he looked handsome? Hadn't these female cultivators seen handsome men before? Jiang Qiong's low voice came to his ears. Why does this boy look better and better? It's really strange. After achieving wandering immortal status, even though Guan hid his cultivation, his appearance and demeanor had a transcendent quality to them. Jiang Qiong thought it was her affection changing his image in her eyes. Sigh, what am I thinking? He's my grand disciple. Even if I'm a demon cultivator, I can't act immorally. Jiang Qiong withdrew her hand and sat down. She became silent. After a while, she suddenly kicked Guan, hitting his waist. Guan cursed inwardly. Why was this woman hitting him? She kicked him again, and Guan rolled away, putting distance between them, and shouted, "More drink." "What, master? I don't recognize you. You definitely can't outdrink me." Seeing his drunken state, Jiang Qiong couldn't help but laugh. After that, Jiang Qiong didn't act out again. When the 3-hour period ended, Guan groggily got up, seeing Jiang Qiong meditating. He immediately snuck away. Though Jiang Qiong didn't open her eyes, a smile crept onto her lips. After leaving the 8 scenic caves, Guan went to the Nianchu cave of Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. After picking some medicinal herbs, he sternly guided Tian Yaoer in her cultivation. He vented his frustration from Jiang Qiong on Tian Yaoer. Tian Yaoer didn't mind though. When Guan was about to leave, she clung to his arm, trying to pester him further, causing him to quickly vanish on the spot out of fright. Back at the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guan kept pondering a question. Was it that spring had come and everyone was more prone to emotions? Or was he just unlucky? Why did Yilan, Jiang Qiong, and Tian Yaoer all come on to him? Fortunately, Lu Lingjun only indulged in banter, and didn't actually treat him as a Taoist friend. These were all traps set by the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Tao wanted him to be ensnared by these women's affections, dragging him into worldly conflicts. Sooner or later, the 3 women would encounter various troubles. If he were bound to them, how could he stand idly by? Intervening more frequently would eventually attract the attention of powerful enemies. The concept of causality was complicated. The higher his cultivation, the more Guan respected causation. The intersections of fate in the mortal world seemed random, but in reality, followed certain laws. Guan pondered as he walked toward his pavilion, contemplating the way of cause and effect. In the distance, Xiaochuan stood by the wooden fence, watching his spirit dogs playfully fight. His gaze suddenly caught sight of Guan ascending the stairs. For some reason, Xiaochuan became lost in thought. The feeling Guan gave him was indescribable, as if his senior brother could fly away at any moment. This feeling was quite strange. He came back to his senses and smiled self-deprecatingly. Senior brother has already sworn brotherhood with Mahayana cultivators. He's long been a different league from me. I only rely on his care to live. When I pass away, he will still be young. Feeling melancholic, Xiaochuan sighed. He was envious but bore no jealousy towards Guan, believing his senior brother deserved his current status. When he died, if there truly were an underworld, he would pray for his senior brother, wishing his immortal path smooth and worry-free. Uncle Xiaochuan, the white spirit rat is back. An Exian suddenly ran over, interrupting his thoughts. Chapter 174. Catastrophe rarely seen in 10,000 years. Ever since they had the mystic pure tree, the white spirit rat had basically been napping under it, rarely going out, and when it did, it was gone for several days, making Xiaochuan always worry about it. Under Enzin's guidance, Xiaochuan arrived at the mystic pure tree. The white spirit rat was lying under the mystic pure tree, its belly facing the sky. Xiaochuan squatted down and gently petted its belly, while it displayed a look of comfort. An Xian came up behind Xiaochuan and said with emotion, "Uncle Xiaochuan, you spoil it too much. It goes out for so long. Don't you think it needs a little scolding?" She couldn't stand the white spirit rat's cockiness and laziness. Had it not been Gu An's pet, she would have taken care of it long ago. Don't underestimate it. It has another name, the treasure-hunting rat. It rarely goes out, but when it does, it might come back with a treasure, Xiaochuan said with a smile. At these words, an Xian squatted down as well, curiously examining the white spirit rat. The white spirit rat opened its eyes to see her, and its eyes widened. Suddenly, it spat a pearl at an Xian who couldn't dodge in time. The pearl hit Enzin's face and immediately turned into liquid, seeping into her skin. Everything happened so quickly that an Xian couldn't react. By the time she realized what had happened, she screamed, stood up hurriedly, and frantically touched her face, while Xiaochuan was also frightened, not knowing what to do. The white spirit rat gave a smug smile and ran behind the tree. Guan heard Enzin scream and rushed over immediately, followed by other disciples. "Don't move, let me see." Upon hearing Gu An's voice, an Xian calmed down instantly and let go of her hands. Everyone looked closely and saw that apart from a slight redness due to emotional agitation, there were no injuries on her face. Guan examined her and then asked Xiaochuan to go fetch Lu Lingjun. Although an Xian was fine, she had obtained an opportunity. But Guan couldn't say this out loud. He had to get Lu Lingjun to explain it. Before long, Lu Lingjun arrived. After inspecting an Xian, she smiled and said, "You should thank that fat rat." Upon hearing this, an Xian was stunned, and the people around were puzzled. The white spirit rat suddenly peeked out from behind the tree, baring its teeth at Lu Lingjun, but its overly chubby figure rendered it completely non-threatening. "Senior, do you recognize the pearl it spat out?" An Xian asked nervously. Just as Lu Lingjun was about to answer, a figure flew in from the distance, and she turned to look. The newcomer was an imposing male cultivator, who swiftly landed behind the group. Frowning, he asked, "Whose white spirit rat is that?" An Xian couldn't help but tighten her grip on her sleeve. Guan stepped forward and said, "It is mine." "I'm sorry, Daoist friend, that pearl has already been absorbed by my disciple. I am willing to compensate with medicinal herbs." An Xian looked at him with gratitude, while Lu Lingjun had a look of amusement. The male cultivator's cultivation level was at the nascent soul realm, and his cave was not far from the third medicine valley. Having only joined Supreme Sect 2 years ago, he was unaware of the importance of the third medicine valley. Seeing that Gu An's cultivation was low, he said sternly, "Compensate with medicinal herbs? You are merely the acting valley master. How many medicinal herbs can you offer? My water spirit pearl is an extremely rare treasure. Your white spirit rat sneaked into my cave while I was away and stole it. This is unforgivable." Lu Lingjun chimed in. "The water spirit pearl is indeed rare. It can enhance a being's perception of water attribute spiritual energy." The male cultivator glared at an Xian with even more anger, making her even more anxious. Guan said helplessly, "How about 26th grade medicinal herbs?" Hearing this, the male cultivator was moved, surprised at Gu An's generosity. The disciples were also shocked, knowing the high value of 6th grade medicinal herbs. They usually handled even the seeds with extreme care, for a single seed of a 6th grade herb was worth their lives. Seeing the male cultivator hesitate, Guan continued, "This disciple of mine is an house sister. Her aptitude is mediocre, so she can only temporarily reside here. If you can let this matter go, and How will also appreciate it." "And how? Which and how?" The male cultivator asked with a frown. Guan smiled. Of course, the top of the golden list. The disciples were not surprised, as this had long ceased to be a secret, while an Exian opened her mouth but said nothing. When the male cultivator heard this, his expression shifted between dark and bright. He coughed once and said, "In that case, on an house account, I'll accept your 26th grade medicinal herbs. But keep a better eye on your white spirit rat in the future. Thank you for your generosity, brother. I will take you to get the medicinal herbs." Guan took the male cultivator away, leaving the other disciples to discuss the event. Xiaochuan began to comfort an Exian. She did not feel wronged, but rather ashamed, as she had received such a stroke of luck out of nowhere and caused trouble for Guan and Hao. She felt guilty. Lu Lingjun snorted. "That kid has guts, not even letting me help." She was a member of the Hall of Elders, and could have easily made the male cultivator leave with a word. This made her see Guan in a new light. Besides her, Guan had also sworn brotherhood with Xian Tianyi and had a close relationship with the sect leader. Even so, Guan did not resort to abusing his power, always offering sincere compensation. This character was truly admirable. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the male cultivator left. Guan looked back, feeling quite emotional. Was this a fortunate mistake? If Xiaochuan hadn't been so kind to the white spirit rat, would it have spat the pearl on his face? Xian Tianyi's Tao Enlightenment Conference was held as scheduled. Guan took an Exian and Xiaochuan to the inner sect city to listen to the teachings. He didn't gain much, but for an Exian and Xiaochuan, as well as all the inner sect disciples, it was immensely beneficial. With the successful conclusion of the Tao Enlightenment Conference, Xian Tianyi's prestige soared, surpassing that of the sect leader, and becoming revered by everyone in the sect. In early summer, Xian Tianyi went to the border and killed a Mahayana realm great demon king and 3 mystic heart realm demon kings, becoming famous across 5 regions. Now the title of the strongest under heaven was attributed to him, though many still believed Sword Venerable Fudao was stronger. As for the Taoist lord of Tsangtian sect, he had been silent since his return. Xian Tianyi's action greatly intimidated the demon land, giving people hope. Thus 2 years passed. Guan's lifespan reached over 2.5 million years. In those 2 years, he still occasionally went down the mountain. Upon learning that people called him the Green Hero, he was stunned. What was this? That night, Jiang Qiong left, going somewhere to retrieve her belongings. Guan could only wish her safety, unable to stop her. After leaving the 1,000-mile range of Supreme Sect, Jiang Qiong walked through the mountains and forests. Clad in a long black robe, she looked like a ghost. Suddenly she stopped, frowning. Following her gaze, a black shadow appeared ahead, and she was startled. Demon Shadow Divine Skill. Could there still be a master of Thousand Autumn Pavilion? Wait. Near Supreme Sect, a great cultivator who knew Demon Shadow Divine Skill. Jiang Qiong immediately readied her magic artifact, poised for action. "If I wanted to kill you, do you think you could resist?" A cold and hoarse voice came from the mysterious shadow ahead. Jiang Qiong took a deep breath and asked, "May I ask if you are Sword Venerable Fudao?" Guan raised his hand and tossed the Ephemera Sect Hierarch token to her. She did not catch it, but took a step back and looked down at the token on the ground. The 3 words Ephemera Sect made her complexion change drastically. "You are from Ephemera Sect? How is that possible?" Jiang Qiong looked at Guan in disbelief. Sword Venerable Fudao, who had opposed Ephemera Sect, was actually from Ephemera Sect? Guan said calmly, "This is the Hierarch token of Ephemera Sect. From now on, you are my envoy, managing Ephemera Sect on my behalf. You can do what you want, but don't let Ephemera Sect commit any more evil deeds." Upon hearing this, Jiang Qiong immediately understood. Sword Venerable Fudao must have taken over the position of Hierarch after Ephemera Sect's downfall, intending to change Ephemera Sect. She breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Sword Venerable Fudao is truly a good person, there is no need to be so fearful. "Why choose me?" Jiang Qiong asked. "You have been in Supreme Sect for over 100 years, coming and going. I saw you on 9 Nether Road before. Later, You returned to Supreme Sect and did not harm the disciples, which at least shows that your nature is not bad. You seem to be in a swamp, perhaps because there are people you care about in Supreme Sect or because you are avoiding enemies, Guan said nonchalantly. Jiang Qiong's expression changed, and her eyes turned cold. She thought Sword Venerable Fudao was using Guan to threaten her. None of that matters. What matters is whether you are willing to take over Ephemera Sect. The Ghost Mother of Ephemera and the 9 Nether 13 Evil will see the token as seeing me. With this token you can make great impacts, Guan said coldly. Jiang Qiong took a deep breath and said, to be honest, I have offended 7 Stars Spirit Realm. That is also one of the reasons. What? Jiang Qiong's face changed drastically, and she looked at Guan in shock. Moonlight shone through the gaps in the leaves, illuminating her, while Guan remained in the darkness. Jiang Qiong returned after 3 months. It was autumn, and the night was slightly cool. Guan and Jiang Qiong came to the 8 scenic caves. Disciple grandson, I have returned to say goodbye, Jiang Qiong said softly, looking up at the green vine tree. Guan feigned confusion and asked, where are you going? Jiang Qiong smiled. During this time, I've thought a lot. Hiding all the time is not the solution. It might even drag you down. 7 Stars Spirit Realm is indeed powerful, but they are not necessarily the rulers of the world. I want to build my own force and keep climbing. Guan appeared hesitant, various emotions flickering across his face. Noticing his expression, Jiang Qiong felt even happier. She laughed. The great demon calamity is imminent. The more chaotic it gets, the greater the opportunities. Maybe in 100 years, I can come to Supreme Sect openly. By then, I'll have you receive me, all right? Guan asked, do you really have to fight? In the world of immortal cultivation, if you don't fight, you'll be trampled on sooner or later. Even if you are safe in Supreme Sect for now, what about later? What if someone wants to kick you out and take over your achievements in Medicine Valley? What will you do? Faced with Jiang Qiong's questioning, Guan remained silent. Afraid that he would be timid in the future, Jiang Qiong smiled and said, if you don't fight, then I'll fight. Don't worry, as long as I'm alive, there will always be a place for you. Unless I die. Guan was moved and looked at her. Satisfied with his expression, Jiang Qiong said, according to the information I've received, the great demon calamity is about to fully erupt. Be prepared for this once-in-million years catastrophe. Chapter 175 Su-Han's Envy, Demon Ancestors Resurrection. Jiang Qiong returned home, but stayed only for 1 night before leaving. Guan could sense her renewed fighting spirit, much like when she first restored her physical body, full of vigor. Guan also had high hopes for her future. If she could lead the remaining followers of the Ephemera Sect onto a righteous path, it would be a meritorious deed. Although the Ghost Mother of Ephemera was using Su-Han, they merely desired to return to their homeland. Meanwhile, Su-Han needed someone to protect him. Both sides were using each other, and who would have the last laugh depended on their own abilities. Everyone had their own life journey. Even those closest to Guan, Yilan, Zhenqin, and Liya, were living their own lives of immortal cultivation, only occasionally visiting Guan for a chat. After Jiang Qiong left, Guan's life continued as usual. Even though he had reached the 9th layer of the wandering immortal realm, he did not find planting flowers and herbs tedious, as he had higher goals to pursue. Since the medicinal herbs had to be picked personally to gain lifespan, Guan rarely used his clone technique. As for receiving guests and handling matters, he was too lazy to use his clones. Throughout the year, the instances requiring another persona to handle were few and far between. Such occasions added variety to his tranquil life, which he naturally enjoyed experiencing firsthand. Every day held fascination for Guan Tianwei, Heavenly Palace Mountain. Heavenly Palace Mountain was nestled among vast mountains, with a massive palace sitting at the peak. A stone staircase extended from the foot of the mountain to the summit, unobstructed by trees. Thus the palace was referred to as the Heavenly Palace, and ascending the mountain was lauded as reaching the heavens. On the ascending heaven steps of Heavenly Palace Mountain, Su-Han approached with a bone sword in his hand. His black robe fluttered, and his long hair danced in the wind. He looked up at the figure on the mountaintop, a look of unwillingness on his face. The person standing at the summit was Enhao. Enhao wore a gold-trimmed white robe, with a dragon crown on his head. His wrist guards, belt, and boots were all exquisitely ornate and gleamed with brilliance. He looked down on Su-han from the mountaintop, a smirk of arrogance and pride playing on his lips. Hateful heaven divine sword? That's all. I heard you can devour others' spiritual power, but even though you take shortcuts, your cultivation growth is slower than mine? Enhao's voice resounded under the vast sky, full of heroism. Su-han looked up at Enhao, not angry, but with a complex expression in his eyes. At that moment, several figures appeared in the woods at the base of the mountain. They moved like specters, quickly positioning themselves behind Su-han. 9 Nether 13 Evil. Su-han raised his sword to block them. The third of the 9 Nether evil spirits, Lee Sanyu, said in a deep voice, "If you don't deal with this boy, you won't be able to devour the cultivation of those cultivators in the palace." Su-han responded calmly, "He's from the Supreme Sect. I don't want to deal with the disciple of the Supreme Sect." The seventh of the 9 Nether evil spirits, Li Chio, mocked, "You can injure him without taking his life." Seeing the 9 Nether 13 evil appear, Enhao squinted. He raised his right hand, and a long sword materialized in his palm. Bathed in sunlight, the blade glimmered with a radiant arc. Su-han frowned, hesitating. The 9 Nether 13 evil did not wait for him to decide, and started to ascend the steps. Rumble, clouds in the sky churned, quickly transforming into thunderclouds. A powerful sword intent enveloped the 9 Nether 13 evil and Su-han. Su-han's eyes widened, looking up at Enhao in horror, unable to maintain his composure from before. Such sword intent, how could it be? Su-han knew that Enhao was younger than him. He couldn't comprehend how Enhao had cultivated such a powerful sword intent. To have honed the Taitsong divine shocking sword to such a degree? What is your relationship with sword Venerable Fudao? A voice rang out, belonging to the ghost mother of ephemera. As soon as she spoke, the 9 Nether 13 evil stopped in their tracks. The name sword Venerable Fudao made them cringe in fear. Luckily, they had not attacked Enhao earlier. Enhao snorted coldly. Why ask so many questions? If you want to fight, then fight. The Taitsong sword intent caused the thunderclouds to gather into a human face. If Guan saw this, he would feel gratified, as Enhao had taken the mastery of the Taitsong divine shocking sword to a new level. Retreat. The ghost mother's voice rang out, and the 9 Nether 13 evil turned and descended the mountain without hesitation. As they walked past Su-han, they nudged his shoulder. Su-han followed them down, but he couldn't help but glance back at Enhao. It was the first time he had seen someone scare off the ghost mother of ephemera, which made his feelings more conflicted. If I had a background like his, I wouldn't be in this situation. Su-han quickly disappeared into the forest with the 9 Nether 13 evil. At the mountain top, Enhao quietly exhaled, despite his arrogance. The 9 Nether 13 evil had put him under tremendous pressure. His master was truly formidable. Wherever he went, he thrived. Enhao felt proud, then turned and walked towards the heavenly palace. Before he reached the door, Si Yenner poked her head out from within, looking at Enhao excitedly. As Enhao approached, she softly asked, "So your master is Sword Venerable Fudao?" Enhao pressed her head, not uttering a word, and walked straight into the heavenly palace. Late autumn, 3rd Medicine Valley. Guan sat on the staircase of a pavilion, watching the disciples clear the autumn leaves. The 3rd Medicine Valley was vast and its scenery magnificent, making him feel content. The weather was pleasant, the wind was gentle, everything seemed wonderful. The only blemish was a strong surge of demon energy gathering in the north. Guan used his divine sense, at the wandering immortal realm, to see endless demons surrounding a mountain. The mountain appeared as if it had been sliced by the heavenly sword, its top flat, with an altar standing on it. The area around the altar was filled with great demons, the lowest of which were at the mystic heart realm, and one had even reached the nirvana realm. Guan speculated that the one of the nirvana realm must be the demon emperor. A stronger demon energy than the nirvana realm was amassing within the altar. Demon energy pervaded the lands and skies, and the clouds above churned. Occasionally a meteor would fall, resembling an apocalyptic scene. Moreover, Guan sensed the presence of great cultivators around the demons. Some of these cultivators also had the aura of the Nirvana realm. Evidently, these cultivators were from the Seven Stars spirit realm, and they were waiting for the resurrection of the demon ancestor. Neither human nor demon, what an interesting world. Guan laughed softly, his tone mocking. He retracted his divine sense, and then took out the Taoist Sunshin's writings to peruse. He had no intention of prematurely stopping the demonic calamity. He planned to act unexpectedly against the Seven Star spirit realm, and now was not the right time. The sun set and the moon rose. An Exian arrived at the staircase asking, "Master, why are you sitting here?" Guan looked at her, smiling. "Enjoying the moonlight. How about you? How has your cultivation been lately?" After merging with the water spirit pearl, Enzin's maximum lifespan hadn't changed. Treasures of extraordinary rarity in this world couldn't easily alter one's lifespan limits, but he could feel that Enzin's energy absorption speed had greatly improved. An Exian smiled sweetly and said, "Pretty good, thanks to you, master. I promised to cultivate herbs well to make up for your loss. A sixth-grade herb is priceless. It might take you a lifetime to make up for it." "No problem. As long as you don't mind, master, I'm happy to stay in the Medicine Valley for a lifetime." Unlike An Hao, who sought justice in the world of immortal cultivation, an Exian, aware of her mediocre talents, only cared about this Medicine Valley. There were hundreds of disciples in the valley, so life was not dull. Occasionally, she would visit the outer gate city. She had no worries and enjoyed these days greatly. Seeing Enzin's bright smile, Guan couldn't help but smile too. "Then I will provide for her for a lifetime." Guan treated his disciples well, not for any return. Could these disciples surpass him in power? He simply enjoyed creating good relationships. Having affection for others who reciprocated his kindness gave him satisfaction. The master and disciple chatted idly, and an Exian mentioned the white spirit rat, saying it was too fat and needed some exercise. Thus, Guan entrusted the white spirit rat to her, permitting her to handle it as she wished, which made her very happy. One night passed. Early the next morning, many Supreme Sect disciples flew northward. Some even flew over the Third Medicine Valley, making an impressive spectacle, and causing the valley's disciples to talk excitedly. After watching for a while, Guan stepped onto the transmission array platform. An ancient hour later, Guan arrived at Tianya Valley. He saw LV had returned, meditating on a cliff facing the valley's entrance. Seeing him from afar, LV nodded slightly as a greeting. Guan nodded back and walked into the valley. 2 years had passed, and the world's landscape had greatly changed. Now only 3 dynasties remained, the Taitsong dynasty, the Tianwei dynasty, and the Great Jiang dynasty. Among them, the Taitsong dynasty possessed the most extensive territory. The Great Jiang dynasty was at the bottom because they hadn't participated in the internal wars, being too busy fighting demons. After Guan finished harvesting the medicinal herbs, he had 3 monkey demons plant the seeds. Luo Hun came to Guan's side and said, "Your Majesty wants you to hasten to increase your cultivation level to the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, and reach the core formation soon." He raised his hand, took out an ornate box, and handed it to Guan. "His Majesty said that with your current status in the Supreme Sect, someone will surely help you form your core. This is a golden core he prepared in advance since he can't find the time to return himself." Luo Hun's eyes showed curiosity. He was curious about Guan's current status in the Supreme Sect. Unfortunately, Li Zuando's letter did not specify. Guan put the box into his storage bag and asked Luo Hun to thank Li Xiandao on his behalf. Luo Hun whispered, "The book?" Guan discreetly took out a book. "This is the latest Green Hero travelogue. Green Hero himself gave it to me, and no third person has seen it yet." Luo Hun accepted it with joy. At that moment, Ji Xiaoyu's brother, Ji Ruolai, appeared behind Luo Hun, looking at Guan asking, "Have you met Xian Tianyi?" Luo Hun moved aside to give him room. Guan asked, "Why do you ask?" "Green Hero travelogue is written by Xian Tianyi. Jirualai said expressionlessly. Luo Hun was embarrassed, quickly leaving. Guan nodded. Indeed, we have sworn brotherhood. Hearing this, Luo Hun stopped, looking at him in disbelief. Jirualai squinted his eyes, carefully examining Guan Lvcien, who was meditating on the cliff, opened his eyes. The name Xiantiani was well known to him. In the current world of immortal cultivation, who didn't know the Supreme Sect's true inheritor? Jirualai stared at Guan and said, "It seems Xiantiani likes your investiture of the gods." Investiture of the gods? What do you mean? Luo Hun suddenly stepped forward, looking at Jirualai with a frown. Are you saying investiture of the gods was written by Guan? Jirualai nodded. Luo Hun looked at him in disbelief. This news was more shocking than Guan and Xiantiani's sworn brotherhood. Chapter 176 The Eyes Peeking at All Beings. Guan Panan. Luo Hun looked at Guan thinking in a daze. His expression made Guan very displeased. What do you mean by this? Disappointed? Guan was not afraid of Pan An's identity being exposed now. Not to mention his cultivation level. Just his backing was enough to handle all the trouble he could encounter. Don't think that Guan has killed many strong people, but those strong people had no direct enmity with him. Currently, the enemies he could provoke would hardly exceed the divinity transformation realm. Even Lvcien in the distance felt shocked. Guan was Panan? He knew that Guan had extraordinary cultivation talent, but did not expect him to have such skills. At this moment, Lvcien once again felt his own mediocrity. He realized that true geniuses never show off their talents. They disdain comparing themselves with others. Jirualai looked at Guan and said, "My third sister wrote to me, asking me to take good care of you. She greatly appreciates your decision to stay at the Supreme Sect instead of following the Ji family in relocating." Upon hearing this, Guan could only say, "I am cultivating in the Supreme Sect. At a time of crisis, I cannot run away. Moreover, I don't need to go to the battlefield, so I must do my part from the rear." Jirualai nodded, with a look of admiration in his eyes. The three chatted for a while before Guan took the opportunity to bid farewell and leave. Watching his departing figure, Jirualai chuckled softly and said, "Being sworn brothers with Xiantiani, his cultivation level no longer matters. From now on, I have to treat him as a great personage." Luo Hun did not respond but muttered, "Why could he write the investiture of the gods? I can accept that he wrote the Green Hero Travelogue. Don't think that he now loves reading the Green Hero Travelogue in Taoist Xuanchuan, but in his heart, Investiture of the Gods was the masterpiece. The former satisfies his desires, while the latter is his life pursuit." Early winter. Just at dawn, a terrifying demon energy came from a distance, startling everyone at the Supreme Sect. In Mystic Valley, the servant disciples practicing exercises with Guan also noticed it, all turning to look in terror. They had never felt such dreadful demon energy, making them instinctively fearful. Guan also felt it and said, "Continue practicing, focus on our tasks, don't worry about what you can't control." Hearing this, the disciples could only suppress their inner fear and continue practicing. Chu Jingfeng and Lu Jiojia were also practicing, both furrowing their brows tightly. They felt that this demon energy far exceeded that of the six-headed sea dragon, which had once brought despair to the human race. Now an even more terrifying demon appeared, leaving them wondering how to survive the demon calamity. This demon energy did not dissipate after its appearance. It lasted for 7 whole days. On this day, Guan came to the outer gate city, where rumors about the demon ancestor had already spread. Have you heard? The ancestor of 10,000 demons, who founded the demon clan, has resurrected. He is the root cause of the demon calamity. The six-headed sea dragon was only one of the 72 great demon kings. There's still the demon emperor above him. And now an even more powerful demon ancestor appears. What are we going to do? With Senior Xiantiani, Taoist Lord, and the 9 great cultivators of the world, we still have a sliver of hope. These people are formidable, but who can kill the demon emperor and the demon ancestor? No matter what, even the great cultivators have returned from overseas to aid us. How can we, the people who cultivate immortality, be afraid? We will fight to the death with no regrets. Even the Foundation Establishment Realm Outer disciples were stirred with bloodlust, ready to fight at any moment. Guan arrived at the edge of the heavenly repair platform and saw Xie, the son of the Demon Emperor, not comprehending sword enlightenment, but standing by the platform, looking at the sky, seeming deep in thought. The sky was covered with surging dark clouds, and the snow was falling heavily, as if to obscure the vast world. Guan also looked up, raising his right hand to catch a flake of snow. The snowflake melted instantly upon touching his hand, dissipating into wisps of white vapor. Loose immortal. Guan silently thought in his heart, judging the cultivation level of the demon ancestor. Indeed terrifying. If Xiantiani and Taoist Lord had not returned, the human race of the three dynasties, having only mystic heart realm cultivators, how could they resist the loose immortal realm demon ancestor? Even if those two returned, they could not possibly be a match for the demon ancestor. The gap in cultivation levels was too vast enough for the demon ancestor to easily crush them. Under Guan's gaze, the dark clouds in the sky actually formed the outline of two gigantic eyes, overlooking all beings with oppressive power. More and more people noticed the abnormality in the sky. As they looked up, all were terrified. Before these eyes, all beings felt their insignificance. They inexplicably thought of a name: Demon Ancestor. The outer gate city quickly fell into extreme silence and oppression. Humph. So what if it's the Demon Ancestor? I, Xiantiani, will surely vanquish it. Watch closely, everyone. This world is ruled by humans. Xiantiani's domineering voice resounded through the supreme sect, like thunder, echoing for a long time, making everyone who heard it enthusiastic with boiling blood. Guan smiled upon hearing this. One had to admit, Xiantiani indeed possessed the bearing of a savior. In this regard, LV Batian was inferior to him. Anyone can leave, but not us. Ji Hantian looked far away, his gaze calm, yet his words carried immense strength. LV Batian shook his head and laughed, then looked towards the horizon alongside him. The demon fog surged at the horizon, like an abyssal storm gradually approaching, with the oppressive feeling of countless demon energies converging. Tianwei Dynasty, the former land of the Chentang Dynasty, in a forest around Three Pure Ones Mountain. Su Han sat under a tree, caressing the bone sword in his hand. The 9 Nether 13 evil scattered around, and the ghost mother of Ephemera sat on a coffin, resting with her eyes closed. Li Sanyu spoke. Ghost mother, all the great cultivators of Three Pure Ones Mountain have gone to the Northern Territory. When do we strike? The ghost mother of Ephemera replied with closed eyes. No rush, wait for the battle to break out. Su Han looked up at her and asked, this time, who is our target? Prince of Taitsong Liya. The ghost mother of Ephemera uttered the name. Su Han couldn't help but frown. He knew Liya had a close relationship with Guan. He asked, why him? He also mastered the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. The Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword of the Li family was passed down from our Ephemera sect. Although and how prevented us from taking Heavenly Palace Mountain, his appearance gave me an idea. That is to let you also acquire the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. The sword intent of the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword can cover the strength of all beings, perhaps better unleashing the power of the hateful Heaven Divine Sword. The ghost mother of Ephemera's tone was exceedingly calm, as if Liya were already a dead man. Su Han took a deep breath and said, choose someone else. There are other Li family disciples. I don't want to deal with Liya. Only he knows the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword in the Li family. Not even Li Xuanmiao of Three Pure Ones Mountain can use it. No, Liya is my martial uncle. I can't do it. Su Han said solemnly, showing a rare strong stance against the ghost mother of Ephemera. The ghost mother of Ephemera opened her eyes, her hollow gaze falling on him. Even in broad daylight, it instinctively made him avoid her eyes. The 9 Nether 13 evil remained silent, all watching Su Han with amusement. The ghost mother of Ephemera slowly spoke. If you don't want to deal with Liya, fine, But you must be prepared to rumble. A thunderbolt flashed across the sky, startling the ghost mother of ephemera, Su Han, and the others to look up. They saw thunderclouds rapidly gathering at the horizon, intertwined with lightning, and a colossal figure appeared in the cloud sea. Taoist of immortality, it is time to settle our scores. An ancient voice echoed, coming from the mysterious presence within the thunderclouds. Far away in the mystic valley of the Supreme Sect, Guan was observing the three dynasties' lands with his divine sense. This outer gate city had gathered a number of inner sect disciples, either to gaze at the heaven-cutting axe or to seek sword enlightenment, and most of them had heard Xiantiani preach the Tao, thus recognizing him instantly. For a moment, silence fell over the heavenly repair platform. Even the outer sect disciples noticed the change in atmosphere and followed everyone else's gaze. Xiantiani walked straight to the heaven-cutting axe. A disciple trying hard to lift the heaven-cutting axe was pushed by his friend. He instinctively looked at Xiantiani, his face changing drastically. He quickly stepped back and saluted Xiantiani. Xiantiani nodded slightly, stepped 2 more steps forward, and faced the heaven-cutting axe. He looked at the inscription on the ground and squinted his eyes. How domineering the sword intent was. Just by feeling the sword intent, he realized that he was inferior to Sword Venerable Fu Dao. This made him speculate even more about Sword Venerable Fu Dao. This person was definitely not cultivated by Supreme Sect. The reason he protected Supreme Sect might be that he was hiding there. His gaze shifted to the Demon Master's bones, carefully examining them, even probing with his divine sense. More and more cultivators gathered around, whispering. Quickly, even the outer sect disciples knew that he was the true inheritor, Xiantiani. This excited everyone. Was the true inheritor also going to challenge Sword Venerable Fu Dao's legacy? Although Xiantiani had gained much fame in recent years, in the hearts of many disciples, he still did not measure up to Sword Venerable Fu Dao. After all, Sword Venerable Fu Dao was deeply mysterious. Sword Venerable Fu Dao's eyebrows suddenly knitted, and his eyes showed a look of shock and fear. These bones were definitely not from a Mahayana realm. Their realm was even higher. Xiantiani had traveled overseas for years, and had encountered great cultivators and demons in Nirvana realm, even immortals. Could Sword Venerable Fu Dao crush a Nirvana realm demon with one axe? Was Sword Venerable Fu Dao an immortal? Xiantiani immediately raised his hand, gripping the handle of the heaven-cutting axe. Heavy. That was Xiantiani's first impression. At this moment, Ancestor Xianquan and Lu Lingjun also arrived nearby, curiously watching Xiantiani. Lu Lingjun had also tried to lift the heaven-cutting axe before but couldn't even budge it, so she was very curious if Xiantiani could lift it. Xiantiani used all his strength with one hand, but could not move the heaven-cutting axe at all. A fierce look flashed in his eyes. Boom! A terrifying aura erupted, startling everyone around into retreat. The entire heavenly repair platform trembled violently, as if about to crack open at any moment. Everyone was shocked by Xiantiani. What kind of cultivation could produce such an aura? Spiritual power burst forth, creating a gust of wind around Xiantiani, even making his robes flutter and rustle.